I don't think Israel has claimed that. They're not going to say that their most genocidal behavior represents anything to do with them, okay? But what they are going to do is they're going to inexplicably link Israel and Jewishness together, so when they're being criticized, all of a sudden they have the perfect defense.
You think that Israel is any other Western white colony, but they just happen to be Jewish, so they just use that fact as a way to excuse what they did and what they're doing. That's it. Like, what? Surely you would not look back and like, okay, why did a bunch of Jews end up in that area? No, the fact that they're Jewish is the entire reason they ended up there. The fact that they're Jewish is the reason that people fled Russia. It's the same reason people fled Europe in the 20s. It's the reason that people who wanted to flee Europe to America after 25 couldn't go because America capped immigration massively. They set quotas to keep more Jews from going there. Why did they go during the Holocaust and the war? Well, it's because they couldn't go anywhere else, because the Evian conference and every other country in Europe and the Western world was like, no, not our problem. F off. Like, yeah. And then after the backlash of the 48 war takes place in all the Arab and North African countries, why do they all end up going to Israel, barring like some Algerians going to France? Well, it's because that's the only place they could go. It's not just like, oh yeah, we do all the bad colonial shit, by the way, we're Jewish, it's fine. No, the fact that they're Jewish actually is a pretty important part of the story. It's a pretty important variable into how they ended up there, why they stayed there, why they don't want to go anywhere else. What kind of coffee are we ripping into? Just some instant coffee? Instant coffee is wild. Excuse me, listen, the older you get, okay? I know you're all 25 years old or younger, okay? And you think it's cool to like dark beer and black coffee, okay? I know that's you, and you drink dessert wines. The older you get and the more experience you get and the more you overcome this pretense, you realize that the longer it takes to make a coffee, the worse it tastes, okay? That's it. That's just facts. What can I say? Am I wrong? The longer it takes to make a coffee, it just tastes like the waste of time, okay? You don't need that much, just a decent instant coffee with some oat milk and like half a teaspoon of brown sugar. You're good. Preferably in a pig mug. Really, you should just ditch coffee altogether and get Red Bull, okay? Chat, instant coffee? What? Shut up. Shut up. You all drink dark beer and have black teeth and think you're cool, okay? You. I see through it. So, TLDR of this that I know of is, I don't know much about this guy, okay? iDubbbz is a YouTube edgelord with about 7 million subscribers who apologized for being an edgelord, cried, and now it seems like he's ingratiating himself with the Sans community. I believe he was also a friend of Ethan's, fairly close one as far as content creation goes, so let's see. Let's see what he's got to say. Content Cop H3.
Destination, the beach is surprisingly dangerous. Consider the
thing in our defense, like, actually, Hila's not a baby killer. Actually, accusing Ethan of killing his dog.
Is the audio's not doubling up, is it? Why is my... oh no. Is that my headphones doing that? Why is the mic meter jumping with the video? I could just constantly mute my microphone on and off.
Harassment group that anybody who says anything, they will attempt to ruin their lives. And once again, I'm the crazy one. It's not bad enough that I have this group of people.
What we do here is go back.
What's up, everybody? I'm Hasan Piker, and this is the Hasan broadcast coming to you live from a cloudy day here in California, Los Angeles. We're live and alive, and I hope all the boys, girls, and MBs are having a fantastic one because today's a beautiful day. I have a very important announcement. I've finally done it. I watched Ethan Klein's content nuke, and I'm not going to call it context puke as I normally do because the reality of the matter is it was brilliant. Nothing was out of context. Everything was correct. I am an Islamist, fundamentalist, radical terrorist. I am a...
I mean, you're not. You just support Islamic fundamentalist terrorists and glaze them and make excuses for them and do propaganda on their behalfs. I mean, they're different. They're very different. Okay. So he actually contributed to this video. Is this part of his little narrative that he could do a video essay back at Ethan, but he just won't? Okay.
Vicious anti-Semite. It's true. Most importantly, Ethan is more attractive than me, both physically and also mentally. I've been lying about everything, including my glasses. They're fake. He was right about that. That's not even in the content nuke. And he was right about that too. How did he know everything? How? Wake up, Ethan. Wake up, Ethan. Ethan, wake up.
Wakey, wakey, Ethan. Wake up, Ethan. Wake up. Time to be awake, Ethan.
Wake up, Ethan.
This is no longer a dream. This is a nightmare. Wake up.
Ethan, the dumb is telling you to wake up.
Wake up.
Ethan, wake up.
Wake up, Ethan.
Ethan, wake up.
Wake up.
Since anyone?
Just wake up.
Wake up.
Wake up.
Wake up. Wake up, Ethan.
I'm not gonna do...
Holy shit. What is this crowd? Look at them. What's going on? Hasan Abi, Denims, SeanDaBlack, Frogan. Oh, Noah Samsen. Matt Lieb. Where are they? Did they come in later? Wow. What the f is this? What am I watching? The Down Syndrome Special Forces. Wait, hang on. I'm sorry. That was... I retract that. Okay, that was very offensive to people with Down syndrome, who, let's face it, were dealt a bad hand and are mostly trying their best. That does not accurately characterize whatever the these retards are doing. Sorry. Never mind. What the man? It's weird because I had the impression, based on some of the Twitter clips, that this whole thing was supposed to be like an intervention. Like iDubbbz is Ethan's old friend, and he wants to appeal to his better nature and say things like, oh yeah, you know, like, we don't think you're a bad person, you're still a human, this is just you having a bad one, and we're here to remind you that we love you, or we used to love you, and we want you to sort of come back. That's not what this is. This is like someone might have suggested making a video like this to someone that they're bullying when you're like 13, and then gone, no, wait, that's actually kind of embarrassing. You know, like, we're teenagers now. We're not 10 years old anymore. Me. What am I watching? They're doing the thing. Oh no. Amazing.
Do a react content yet, chat.
I'm the same. Nobody's told you to wake up, Ethan.
Yummy, I love Sabra hummus.
Wake up, Ethan. Wake up.
Ethan.
Wake up, Ethan.
Wake up.
Wake up, Ethan. Just wake up.
All right. I didn't plan on making a content cop on H3. It sounds very stupid even saying that. H3 content cop, iDubbbz. Ethan Klein's out of control. And then you should do a content cop on Hasan Piker. Content cop on Sargon of Akkad. If I would imagine this in 2016, I would have been like, oh yeah, if I ever do that, it's gotta be because I lose the plot. Well, it turns out it's not me losing the plot, it's Ethan. He's the one who attacked first.
My good friends who I stood by after all these years can't find a spine to speak up.
So go f yourself.
I agree.
All right, guys, I'm going to tell you a story about Ethan Klein. I know some of you have been following him, but there's a lot of people who might not be familiar with the background, with his podcast, with what's been going on over the past couple of years. So Ethan, as you know, is a content creator who has a podcast where he says all sorts of outrageous stuff. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's up. He's had shows with all sorts of different controversial characters. He's had a show with Trisha Paytas. He's had a show with Hasan.
I find it so amazing that Hasan and these clowns are just able to have this effect on people on the internet who are not even really around the political sphere. Like the way that they can just launch all these attacks and accusations at people and still make it sound like they're the ones on the receiving end, or like that they're not the initiators. Frogan's a really good example. Frogan and Ethan, that drama started because Frogan tweeted out on October 7th, basically glazing the attack, calling it a revolution and being like almost like frustrated because left-wingers who support revolution at home were mad at one happening in the Middle East. And then Ethan unfollowed her, called it out on the podcast, and then she just crashed out for 17 months. He just unfollowed her over her glazing Hamas, and then she crashed out for 17 months. Like that's how that happened. But the way they've managed to retcon that whole interaction to make it seem like he was the one aggressing on her, it's mental. That's absolutely insane. Yeah, he didn't. I think even him bringing it up on the podcast didn't happen until after she was like, "Oh, Ethan unfollowed me." Blah. Like, so he just unfollowed her. That's wild. That's absolutely insane. Okay. Yes, I do remember the Zionist therapist. Hang on. Let's just see if this works. I'm going to see if the audio works while I'm still having my mic playing.
Hasan Piker. In doing so, he's gathered a ton of different audiences. Now in his podcast...
See, can I just have both playing through one output? Is that working? Is that working when I just do it like that? They're both just coming through the mic output now for some reason. Let's just try that.
With Hasan, Leftovers, they would mostly talk about surface level progressive and make fun of right-wingers.
And you're telling me he didn't flick their dick once at least?
Oh, that's 100 shavers. You trans women. I say, oh no!
And it was mostly that until they actually had to reckon with a very serious topic. I would say that Hasan was very well equipped to talk about that topic.
Palestinian people living in the West Bank are subject to these horrific conditions, horrific living conditions by the state of Israel, America's greatest ally and the only democracy in the Middle East, if you ask Republicans and even liberals.
Well, the dance he invented was so kick-ass.
Israeli settlers are trying to evict Palestinian families in occupied East Jerusalem. The United Nations says that may be a war crime. It literally is.
I was just eating the toppings, and the pizza looked like a burn victim. It was all disgusting.
I don't know if you can make that joke in 2021.
Why?
It's insensitive to burn victims.
I think it's a good analogy. It's a powerful image.
Ethan was not prepared for this. Ethan, the whole time, is more...
So the evidence here is Hasan just doing a couple of like surface level headlines on what's happening in the territories. Okay. When was Ethan voting against Netanyahu? Was that in 2020, 21? Okay, that's good. Should we not, if we're going to be accurate though, can we not get the clip of Hasan trying to find Yemen on a map and clicking every single country in the Middle East before finally settling with the last one which was Yemen? Ethan was so unprepared for this. To be fair, Ethan probably was unprepared for the idea that like describing all Israelis, half of the Jews on earth, as military targets was kind of just like an acceptable position on the left, like on the far left. That it was actually just like, even if you disagree with it, it was like an acceptable disagreement. You know, it was like we're still roughly aligned. We're still mostly on the same side. We want the same stuff, but we just disagree on this one thing about whether or not it's okay to militarily target 6 to 7 million Jews in the Middle East. Ethan was probably unprepared for that one. Oh no, this is bad. I got that. The first thing that came up was r/destiny, so it's completely invalid. They should have thrown this one in. Where's this clip?
I don't know which is which, dude. Close the cookies. Oh yeah, true. Doesn't know where Yemen is. Okay, I'm gonna click close. I'm closing it. I'm closing it. Nope.
Nope. Got it. One of these.
He did get it, I guess, after going through Syria, Jordan, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan. Okay.
Of the goof guy, and that's fine. You know, we don't expect Ethan to be an expert on the topic. Ethan was obviously caught in this tricky situation where he is extremely sympathetic to the Israeli cause and what's happening to them. His wife's Israeli. She served in the IDF. He obviously likes the state of Israel. On the other hand, he's just got done capturing a massive progressive audience who are very politically savvy. They follow Hasan. Hasan is strictly a political streamer. So this is something they're very keyed into. So when they...
Okay, so before we even get into the crux of any disagreements or the arguments that these two have had over the conflict, let me just preface by saying that Hasan is a politically savvy veteran in political commentary, especially in the Middle East. And Ethan, you know, his wife's Israeli and he likes Israel, and he's a drama moron who does little comedic skits whilst Hasan was seriously engaging with the Israel-Palestine conflict and doing in-depth analysis. Okay, let's just get the well filled up before we start, eh?
See Ethan say things that are just like not accurate and it's just propaganda, they're gonna call it out.
From the river to the sea essentially means the state of Israel is going bye-bye.
So this massive progressive audience that Ethan has...
Is he going to say why that's wrong?
You know, adopted over the years, they're becoming increasingly critical of his position because now he's talking about it, not on leftovers, he's now talking about it...
What?
Out.
From the river to...
Like not... They're very keyed into. So when they see Ethan say things that are just like not accurate and it's just propaganda, they're going to call it out.
From the river to the sea essentially means the state of Israel is going bye-bye.
So this...
That's your example of something that's not accurate and it's just propaganda? That is literally true. What are you talking about? If it's from the river to the sea, from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea, that means there's no more Israel. What are you talking about? What's the spin on that? Oh, actually, from the river to the sea, what that really means is it really means that it'll just be like a federal system and one state will be Israel and one state will be Palestine, but there'll be a federal country. What the... That's not what that means. Does Hasan disagree with that? Does he think that from the river to the... Hasan wants to abolish Israel? If he's saying from the river to the sea, that would mean that there's no... It's Palestine. It would be Palestine. And that's what they say as well. You know, even if you want to believe, like, you can go for... what is it they talk about? The Hamas charter, the new one, which isn't actually a new charter. It's just, it doesn't replace the old one. It's not even called a charter. In any case, even this one from 2017, which is their attempt at moderating, even this is Hamas rejects any alternative to the full and complete liberation of Palestine from the river to the sea. No part of the land of Palestine shall be compromised or conceded, irrespective of the causes, circumstances, and the pressure, and no matter how long the occupation lasts. That's what they think. They think Palestine is an Islamic state from the river to the sea. That means Israel's going bye-bye. What's wrong about... Palestine is an Arab Islamic land. What? Do you want to go older? Do you want to go to the PLO? Let's have a look at them. Palestine is the homeland of the Arab Palestinian people. It is an indivisible part of the Arab homeland, and the Palestinian people are an integral part of the Arab nation. Palestine, with the boundaries it had during the British Mandate, is an indivisible territorial unit. Well, that would mean one state from the river to the sea with no Israel. There's an interesting passage here that I couldn't remember from earlier. Forgotten about this one. Article 20. The Balfour Declaration, the mandate for Palestine, and everything that has been based upon them are deemed null and void. Claims of historical or religious ties of Jews with Palestine are incompatible with the facts of history and the true conception of what constitutes statehood. Judaism, being a religion, is not an independent nationality, nor do Jews constitute a single nation with an identity of its own. They are citizens of the states to which they belong. So there's an Arab state. There are Arab states of Palestine, or otherwise in the Middle East, but there's no Jewish nation. Jews are only citizens of the states to which they belong. What a stupid contribution from iDubbbz. What the? There's also Finkelstein. who took issue with this phrase as well for that reason.
Agree with the slogan. I'm going to be candid with you, and I don't make any claim to infallibility. I'm simply stating, based on my long experience in politics, I don't agree with the slogan, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. It's very easy to amend and just say, from the river to the sea, Palestinians will be free. And that simple amendment, that little amendment.
That's because, okay, whatever. He wants to amend the phrase because Palestine will be free suggests there's no more Israel. And for Finkelstein, who cares very much about international law, will tell you that there is no international law for abolishing Israel. It doesn't exist. So you would change it from Palestine will be free to Palestinians will be free. Straw man argument loner. What's the straw man, Mr. Hemp Seed? Seed of hemp. What's the straw man? iDubbbz literally used Ethan saying that as an example of something that was inaccurate or propaganda. What? The idea that from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free means that there's no more Israel. That is true. That's 100% true. Even if you're a single one-state democratic and all that, that still means it's not Israel. It would be something else. Rip. Ian didn't give his opinion. He presented it as a clip, as an example of Ethan being wrong or inaccurate or doing propaganda. You idiot. God, this... Apparently the dislike ratio in this video is pretty big, so yeah. So far, 7 minutes in, you have to be mental to... What a strange start. There are things that Ethan has said that are inaccurate about Israel-Palestine. He's made a lot of mistakes when he's analyzed the conflict. I just don't know, why would you use him saying something that's objectively true?
Massive progressive audience that Ethan has, adopted over the years. They're becoming increasingly critical of his position because now he's talking about it not on Leftovers, he's now talking about it on his podcast.
What I want to do is show you guys how I see Israel, because you don't see that when you listen to Hasan and you hear all these mega lefties talking about it like it's some super racist, crazy, like Jim Crow style of society. Like, I can't wait to show you guys.
The other day, Bibi fired a really good guy that a lot of people are pissed about.
So Ethan is having this back and forth with his liberal audience, leftist people online, progressive content creators, Hasan, all of these different...
Yes, thank you for summarizing the entire mindset of these communities, Mr. Hempseed. Who cares, bro? Who cares that this guy just had the confidence to launch himself into analysis of a conflict he clearly knows nothing about? Well done. Who cares what they call the land as long as they're all equal in law? The people who live there probably care, because an equal state for two people is not what the Israelis want, nor is it what the Palestinians want. Look at the polls. You colonizing... Neither group wants it. It's the least popular version of a final settlement that either group wants. Neither group wants an equal state for two people.
He's finding new people every day, basically, to get in fights with.
Of all people, this guy...
So they're both wrong. Yes! Governor Ratcliffe from Pocahontas in here.
Matt Lieb, Frogan and Denims and all these, and everybody thinks this guy's awesome, apparently, even though he looks like Millhouse. Dork. Denims, by the way, was the real villain of the video. Evil, hateful. And I'll say it and I'll double down on it. And people, oh, no, not go there.
And it's all culminated, at least for my story, in Ethan burning bridges with people until he burned the bridge with me. Since Ethan and Hasan's falling out, I've been keeping to myself mostly. I don't have many nice things to say. Maybe if Ethan's able to get some help, maybe if he stops harassing other creators, maybe if he does these things, eventually he'll find peace and we can rekindle our friendship. So that's been my approach. I've occasionally thrown a joke Ethan's way in the form of Hasan Piker versus Ethan Klein for boxing.
I like iDubbbz. He's a good guy, but I don't like this stupid. It's not a petty beef. It's like, this guy is evil and he's doing anti-Semitism. And also he's way out of my weight class.
He didn't like that, but sometimes you gotta just throw something out there. I used to work with this video editor named Froggy Tonic. I discovered him because he was in the circles online that I was in. And one of those circles is an H3 fan. He watched Ethan's content, he liked Ethan's content, until he didn't like Ethan's content. There would be an occasional Froggy tweet where I'd be like, I agree with that, I'm not gonna endorse it, I'm not gonna retweet it or like it, but fair enough.
I guess I just missed my old friend. Some wings are too bird feathered colored.
Now that brings us to February 28th of this year. Now, my former editor of a year and a half ago did say some truly mean. He called Hila the C word. He said they're trying to kill their dog with cheddar cheese and a bunch of other shit, I'm sure. Ethan, at some point, discovers that iDubbbz former editor says this horrendous shit about him and Hila. But no one's asking.
No mention of CPS. Well, you know, we can't upset our new friends too much, can we?
Question, where does Ethan get this information from? You see, it would be very obviously a problem if Ethan was discovering this content by scrolling through Twitter looking for something to upset himself with. He has maybe set it up in such a way where his employees feel the need to send him this information, and that would be horrible. They shouldn't be doing that. They should be sending you things that are entertaining for your show that don't trigger the hell out of you. Why is there so much work being put into discovering this guy on Twitter who's barely getting any interactions, linking him to me and posting on the Reddit, when there's no work being put into who the is the person on the Reddit who's posting this in the first place? If you do a little bit of research, it seems like it's an account whose intention is to make Ethan crash out. One of the users on the Snark Reddit points this out. They're like, I've seen this account before.
Okay.
This account has scraped its
oh, it's a Taliban. Okay. God, it's so funny that they just use all these tactics that you could never get away with using against them, could you? You could never get away with going to someone else and being like, oh, I don't know about that criticism you're using against me because it's derived from a crazy person. Like, you'd never, because they would just say, well, they're your words or something like that. So dumb. But it seems like this guy's pretty deep in the mud, though, isn't he? If he's looking at Snark and finding out which Reddit users. This is a lie. The person's exclusively an H3 fan, never posted on r/Destiny. Oh. Well, whatever. It doesn't matter. But okay. I guess if they're lying, why not?
history, and it's now trying to make Ethan burn bridges. This is within Ethan's own community. Like, this is the thing that he needs to be critical of. It's not me. So yes, I am willing to admit that my former editor was being very nasty, uncharitable, and up towards Ethan and Hila on Twitter. But Ethan and Hila are doing the same on their podcast. So I don't want to hear it.
Terrorist supporter.
The CEO of Twitch.
Pedophile.
Now I'm going to...
Wait, but Hasan is a terrorist supporter. He supports groups that are recognized as terrorist groups. And they also, even if you don't like terrorist designations by the United States, like, yeah, whatever, it's stupid. They engage in action that anyone would describe as terrorist. They target civilians for political goals as non-state actors. Non-state actors who target civilians to push a political outcome. That's terrorism. So there's the most basic definition. Okay.
Watch and respond to the 2 podcast streams where Ethan and Hila call us spineless cowards.
Anyway, this guy was saying like that Hila's a Nazi, that she kills kids, that she went on like, she's a IDF baby killer, all this types of shit. And that's showing up right up on Anisa's and iDubbbz feed. My good friends who I stood by after all these years can't find a spine to speak up. You know why? Because they'll get murdered.
You don't know what's on my feed. What the is happening? For all you know, I only use the For You tab. For all you know, I only use lists. For all you know, I'm seeing these things.
Wait, but you were saying that someone who posted some kind of like rage bait comment on the H3 subreddit was actually a DGGer because that was found out on Snark. That sounds like you're pretty deep in. But now you're saying like, oh, maybe I didn't see it. I didn't know this was happening. What? Is he trying to have is he trying to have it both ways? I guess that's the thing that people do, right? Like, people will go absolutely balls deep into some argument or some aspect of something that they think suits them. But then as soon as you bring up an example that they don't like, then it's like, oh, I don't know about that. I never heard about that. I'm just a passive observer from a safe distance looking, just getting sad at the madness. What the?
Things tweeted out by my editor of a year and a half ago and saying, God, that is nasty. I'm just not going to throw someone away because they're having a parasocial weird moment. Just like I'm not going to throw Ethan Klein away because he's having a parasocial weird crash out.
How many women I Hasan, by the way, thousands. Yeah, thousands. Let me ask Galia. These shoes do not go. I'm sorry. Oh my God. Hasan's the type of dude who watches himself in the mirror when he has sex.
Watching me on a 30-second delay on your stream.
Wait, that's what I'm... Wait, how does he know I'm watching already?
Because you've been talking about it for the last 5 minutes.
It's not a
petty beef. It's like this guy is evil and he's doing anti-Semitism. These shoes do not go. I'm sorry.
There are many people, I'm sure, who have unfollowed you for the things that you've said and done. And I'm sure there are even more people who have stayed following you because they don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. They don't want to throw someone away.
So far, none of that was proof of him being parasocial. If it's someone that you used to be like real life friends with, how's that parasocial? Not how parasocial works. Parasocial is you guys liking me and thinking I like you. That's parasocial. This isn't parasocial.
They've had some hard moments. We're all human.
My good friends who I stood by after all these years can't find a spine to speak up. You know why? Because they'll get murdered.
And what you're saying to me is that I'm a bad friend and I'm a piece of shit. I'm spineless, I'm cowardly because I am following someone on Twitter.
Because they have mobilized such an insane harassment group. It's not bad enough that I have this group of people harassing me and everyone in my life. It's that people outside of this group, journalists, creators, are actively participating in this gaslighting to make it seem like I'm crazy.
I mean, I don't know what he's getting at here. Like, yeah, people are gaslighting you. A lot of people gaslit me when I apologized.
It's funny because he's doing the gaslighting as well. He's actually done the gaslighting to an extent that's probably more blatant because this is a scripted video. How can you be like, oh, I did a lot of research into this one person who made this post that made Ethan triggered on Reddit. And then the other end, it's like, how am I supposed to know what's going on in the Twitter feed against you? Like, come on. You're gaslighting. You scripted gaslighting. Gaslighters don't normally script, right? A gaslighter will normally just, like, they'll say what they need to get out of whatever situation that they're in, right? So they'll be arguing with someone and then they'll maybe talk about some hyper-specific event where they think their partner or their friend did something wrong, but then someone will bring up a reference from the exact same event and they'll be like, oh, I can't remember that. You expect me to remember every single detail? Like, they do it in real time. They don't script it ahead of time. Like, what the... Okay.
That was actually like the #1 type of harassment I got was people gaslighting me and taking my newfound woke ideology to its extreme.
I've probably done and stood by iDubbbz and Anisa more than anybody. I've stood by them when all the internet hated them.
I don't like that Ethan brought this up because it makes the relationship feel very transactional. Like, you know, we're just meant to support each other online despite our own personal morals or principles.
But I'll say this, I don't think they're any friends of mine. And certainly I don't think they're any friends of mine based on the text conversation I had with them too before I even talked about it. So I have nothing, I don't need any halfway friends, man.
I thought the text conversation that I had with him was very empathetic. I basically just said, like, I know you and Hila are experiencing a ton of harassment, and I essentially empathize with that, and I think there's something positive to get out of the conversation. But he refused to talk on the phone unless I was willing to publicly say something about my former editor and Denims. As much as you don't want halfway friends, I also don't want that kind of halfway friend. I don't want someone who's going to give me like an ultimatum to have a conversation.
Could you not say something when this is like, imagine like one of you guys is like, Hasan actually wants to go to Israel, go to Gaza so he can strangle Israeli babies or something like that. I'd be like, you imagine me not saying something.
You're trying to make a one-to-one comparison where there isn't one. This guy that I follow on Twitter is not in the same relationship as you and one of your current employees who is streaming with you 3 days a week, 3 hours a day for the past 10 years. At one point during the stream, Ethan and Hila bring up Adam McIntyre. Now, Adam does basically the same thing as my former editor. He's critical of Ethan and Hila, and he is sometimes uncharitable and nasty towards them.
Adam McIntyre needs to just like disappear. That guy is a piece of like of the lowest order.
Whoa, disappear? Disappear. What a choice phrase coming from an ex-cast member of Fauda. Disappear. Or you're gonna pretend to be an Arab and go into the mosque and kidnap them. Disappear.
I never even stood by him when he talked bad about Trisha having a kid and called him like the spawn of Satan. He was supposedly on our side. I would never even co-sign that. I was disgusted by that statement too. I remember when he called her kid the spawn of Satan.
I never said anything
and
like
I was
that.
supposed to be like cheering on, but I wasn't going to cheer that on. That's
Why
disgusting.
do we forget that he called her children, which is something we would never do, the spawn
Never.
of Satan?
Disgusting.
And
A
I
piece
mean,
of a human.
it's just incredible who ends up being the good guys in this story. You know, it's really something.
Unfortunately, they never made a statement. They never said that they disagree with his statements about Trisha's baby until it's useful. Like, what is it, 3 years later? Like, I mean, you're talking about it like you were aware of it at the time and that there was some amount of pressure or enthusiasm for you to get down with that. And what it sounds like to me is that you did see it at the time and you were like, ooh, I don't like that. And you didn't endorse it and you didn't f with it. Huh. It's almost like that is a identical situation to me.
It's just incredible who ends up being the good guys in this story. You know, it's really something.
So yeah, the reason I'm bringing this up is because they're trying to like paint themselves as the good guys, and they're saying like, yeah, we strongly disavow things that are said, even about our enemies. We are the most immoral people on the internet, unlike Ian and Anisa, who are keeping to themselves. Also, why the does Olivia get the pass?
What a asshole for putting you in that position, Olivia.
Is this whole video just going to be iDubbbz? Is the name Ian? Oh, I don't know. Is this whole video just going to be iDubbbz grabbing like singular sides from a pretty long drama where there are hours and hours and hours of back and forth, and just selecting a bunch of bits from one side and being like, Ethan, why are you so out of control? Like, even though these examples are not even relevant, like they're not even really saying what he's trying to say. Sorry, where's the equivalent of Ethan like spreading that results in a CPS call and people in chat talking about it as well? Or where's the equivalent of Ethan defending people who literally think it's okay to target civilians? Like, what
does Olivia get the pass?
What a asshole for putting you in that position, Olivia. You're friends with him, and you don't have to say anything. But like, what a piece of what a bad friend to put you in that position just for some clout. It gets people angry at you, like, oh, how can she be friends with him? Which is total. Okay, Olivia did not do anything, and
I want the pass. Do I have to be an employee to get that treatment? Because then you'll just see me as an ally? Or is it because Ethan is afraid of wrongful termination accusations and lawsuits?
And also, I don't mind putting my friend Olivia, who's apparently my real friend, in a terribly weird, uncomfortable situation where you end up getting hate for no reason.
Also, don't frame it as like other people making it hard on Olivia. You're making it hard on all of these people. Please acknowledge your role in this whole thing.
Wow, holy right. I love that, because I know that there's this whole thing where people like Hasan, unlike his followers on his orbiters, Hasan tries to keep a good relation with the crew because he thinks like they can be saved or whatever but like, or because he just has the sense to think that even if like everything about Hasan's narrative was true, like these people still have jobs but it's the fact that he's isolating in a sense. Yeah, it's definitely not it's not the fault of the people who harass your crew. It's definitely your fault that they're getting harassed. What the for them being there by proxy? I know Olivia and AB both said that Ethan was a good parent and wasn't like letting the kids roll around and or whatever. Wow. Am I literally just watching? I don't know. Like these guys just use like primary school bullying tactics. It's so insane. And it's the fact that like fully grown adults watch this and like believe it.
It's crazy how warm Ethan is to Olivia and saying how Olivia is essentially just a victim in this whole thing.
It gets people angry at you, like, oh, how can she be friends with him? Which is total.
But me and Anisa are spineless. Ethan, your whole system is scrambled. My intention isn't to throw the employees under the bus. Like, you guys serve as the foundation for calling out Ethan's hypocrisy on the whole subject. And I know that you guys have probably pushed back against Ethan over the years. How often are you supposed to do that? Do you have to do that every week? It kind of seems like it. And that's exhausting. I don't want to confront my boss. It's not my job to confront my boss and say, today's segment on rapists and pedophiles on Twitch was not like my favorite segment to be a part of.
Yeah, friends like these.
Oh yeah, and our other good friends.
Yeah.
Anisa and Ian. Thanks, Anisa, for standing up for your girl. I actually stood up for you so many times, because like, why would I not? It was crazy.
Yeah, why would you not? I mean, if that's truly what you believed and you weren't just going to use it later.
Of course I was going to stand by you. That's insane.
Wait,
It's
what?
absolutely insane and disgusting.
You only stood up for them so you could use it later. Or no, she's referring to something that she did that she's not getting reciprocated. Wow. God, it's like everything you do is just framed with bad intentions, eh? Wow.
But now you choose to hang out with people that would have a problem with you if you defended me.
I'm not going to assume that Hila knows, but I'll say it for anyone who doesn't know. Anisa is half Lebanese and half Irish.
Oh my
For anyone
fucking
unfamiliar,
God.
the Irish have been on the receiving end of a lot of oppression and genocide. On the part of the Lebanese, they've received a lot of oppression and attacks from the IDF.
Holy bro. What? Half Lebanese, half Irish, 100% white. Wait, where's this person? Can I see this person speaking? They have a podcast together, don't they? They do a little show where they sit in two little armchairs and talk to each other. Lebanon, bro, what the? Can I do this as well? I should do this more often. Yeah, well, as you guys understand, I'm half Lebanese. And we go through a lot of oppression, mostly from Hezbollah and the axis of resistance. Just defer to me on everything. What? Hang on. iDubbbz, Anisa, is it iDubbbz? I just want to hear her speaking, okay?
I think that's one of the things.
Just talk. Just talk. Is this her here? Where the I don't, is it just him for the entire thing? That was Ole, that crazy. All right, where we are. Where are we? Sam Hyde. Apparently she's only 8% Lebanese. What? Okay. Wait, did she not have like a Lebanese parent? Or where is she? I don't even know what she looks like, man. This is so difficult. Is this her? Is this her?
I'm legitimately confused because I swear to God, like a month.
Is this the person we're talking about here? Is that right? Her father was a Lebanese refugee. Okay, then the 8% thing doesn't mean. Okay, she's half Lebanese. Okay, let's see. Let's go. The Irish thing is mental.
Month ago, everybody was saying like these big apples make you attractive, but now everybody's saying that smile lines make you ugly. But how do you have the big cheeks without smile lines?
What does? Okay, so she's either American or Canadian. That's what she actually is. Okay, good. Right. What the? Okay. What does that have to do with what, with not wanting to stand up for Ethan and Hila if they've done the same for you? What does being Irish have to do with that? Irish. Irish. What? Okay. Was she there in the Troubles? The potato famine? God, it's like being in America and someone was like, oh, my old man's old man was Scottish. I'm like, yeah, you're American. Fuck it. Like, stop. You're not, it's illegal. It's the same.
Oh, Anisa is very well familiar with the propaganda and the coming out of Israel. Choosing now, out of all the times, to be like, please defend me. No, we're not going to defend you.
Rudy was saying that Palestinians are taught at 2 years old to kill Americans.
Do we have that?
I mean, just the other day, Bibi fired a really good guy that a lot of people are pissed
How short are these clips? What the? Okay.
about.
He looked mean. I thought he was mean just because he looked mean.
No. A lot of people are.
Do we have that
I
one?
mean,
Like,
just the other day, Bibi fired a really good guy that a lot of people are pissed about.
He looked mean. I thought he was mean just because he looked mean.
No. Not.
So yes, you caught
Bro,
us.
this is so tiresome. How many times do people have to do this clip? This is also that clip is such a good example because it just shows that they don't actually give a fuck about changing her mind or anything. Because Hila literally said that she wouldn't have said that had she known about what Gallant said on October 8th or 9th. She took it back like within, 48 hours? Maybe even less? But we're still going to keep using it. We're still going to keep using it. Also, I guess because iDubbbz won't bother explaining it or elaborating on anything, the reason she said that about Gallant and the reason that Gallant was dismissed in large part was because Gallant literally was trying to push for an approach to the war in Gaza that was different from Netanyahu's in a way that was actually much more, that would have been a lot more alleviating towards the Palestinians in Gaza. Because Gallant's whole thing was that Israel's military achievements in Gaza were kind of like maxed out almost a year ago now. It would have been summer. And he kept saying that, like, this thing of trying to just keep bombing and bombing and bombing until Hamas is completely gone is a lost cause. And he was arguing that there should be a more withdrawn approach because there's no day after. And Gallant was trying to push for either a day after or just pull out of Gaza and try to focus more on negotiating for hostages. Because people in Israel will never, they have a hard time reckoning with this, but it's true. Total victory against Hamas versus get the hostages back. These are kind of slightly incompatible goals, or like the ultimate thing that you would have to do to get rid of Hamas is different from the best way to get the hostages back. These are different things. So if you prioritize hostages, you might have to enter into a deal that preserves Hamas's power or at least gives them breathing space to regroup. Whereas, so Netanyahu's thing was always the hostages were getting Hamas. Whether he says it that way or not, that's his thing. Gallant was wanting to put the hostages first, and putting the hostages first would mean giving more breathing space to Hamas, and also by extension, less airstrikes and less bombing and less suffering in Gaza. Which is also not even to mention the fact that Gallant, when it came to the situation of Biden pushing for more aid to go into Gaza, Gallant was on board with that. He was actually one of the ones who said that, yes, Israel should put 500 trucks of aid into Gaza every day. He was saying that too, which is kind of strange because obviously the 500 trucks thing is kind of like a little bit inaccurate, but Gallant was one of the ones pushing for that. But because he said that on October 8th or 9th, he said there was a total siege and they're fighting human animals and all that shit. People just write him off forever. And like, it's not like Gallant is a good guy, but in the Israel-Palestine conflict, people have no problem calling people good guys when they are better than what we're used to. So people will say Marwan Barghouti is a good guy for the Palestinians because he's a really popular leader. He has shown flexibility in the past. He's shown a willingness to compromise with Israel in the name of peace. But he's also a murderer. He's also overseen murderers of civilians. Like, so, but it's okay to call him a good guy. It's okay to say that at one point or another, Arafat was a moderating person because he spoke to the UN and he renounced terrorism and he said that he would recognize Israel. Like, even though he was a murderer as well. Like, he was leader of the PLO when they were literally targeting civilians by crossing the border. But it's okay to do it for that. It's okay to say it for Mustafa Barghouti, even though he's kind of like a bit of a Holocaust denier or Holocaust revisionist, but he's also a non-violent activist, which in Palestine is a pretty big deal. Like, I would vote for him, even though he's mental. Like, yeah, it's just a stupid double standard. But yeah, obviously no engagement from this guy. We're just going to use that one clip, even though Hila's already disavowed it. Okay.
We're not going to run to your defense when, I don't know, we follow people. We be following. That's one up thing that you can say about Anisa and I is when we're on Twitter, we do be following.
So
the problem,
okay, if you want to hang out with those people and have no spine and not stand up for another girl that stood up for you, enjoy your new friends.
Is he
really going to frame that as like following? Like they just wanted an unfollow on Twitter? No. I don't even know. I haven't seen this part of the drama, but like I feel like what they wanted would have been something like just a disavowal of what was happening, or even just like maybe taking the side of Ethan and Hila in the sense that they're not like shit parents who are allowing their kids to eat feces. Because I think they were real life friends. Yeah, but just no show of support. Eek. But you know, we have to hedge because I've got Irish ancestry. What the Can Ethan do that as well? Ethan and Hila are, what are they? Oh yeah, they're Jews. Yeah, the most hated minority in the last 2,000 years. The most persecuted, murdered, like hounded minority in the last 2,000 years. Double standards, man. Ian and Anisia have been to Ethan's house and met their kids, by the way. Yeah, I thought they were quite close.
People like Denims.
I know. Yeah.
Which I'll show.
Denims
is actually participating in this whole child protective service lie.
Yeah.
Oh, now they're just making it about Instagram follows. God, it's so gaslighting, man. So manipulative.
If you're friends with them, then you're seeing what they're saying.
You'll notice that Ethan and Hila start talking about this Denims character. Originally, the complaint was about my former editor. He's been chatting about Ethan and Hila for the past year at least. They only care about it now because
Hila is Iraqi and Libyan Jewish. I didn't know that. But we don't care about those oppression points, right? Because any oppression they suffer is actually all because of white Zionists. That's really what that's all about, according to these guys.
I guess it was spoon-fed to them via their Reddit that's clearly looking out for them. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, where we are friends with Denims, but I would say it's the same level of friendship that we had with Ethan and Hila. It's like kind of an internet friendship. We think that she's a good person like we think Ethan and Hila are good people. Kind of a tricky situation. How can you possibly think that they're both good people at their core? People can have crash out moments.
Well, you can just watch crash out. You can just watch what they're saying and doing. If we're talking about oppression, wasn't Denims literally Denims was one of the people who was trying to say that because I think her background is partially Moroccan. She was trying to say that like Morocco was only persecuting Jews under the French. Like there was no Muslim oppression of Jews before the French. Bro, in Morocco, like in Fez, where you can look this up, in Fez, where the Jews, basically, they all had to live in these kind of like very segregated little communities, like the equivalent of like tiny little ghettos. But when the Jews would try to, when they would intermingle with the Muslims, there was a street where there was one of the mosques, and there was also like different streets that had different like Muslim sanctuary sites. And for quite a while, I think it was 1700s, where Jews were not allowed to wear shoes when they went past these buildings or on these streets. So they had to wear little straw shoes. And when the Sultan of Fez tried to allow them to wear shoes when they were crossing past the mosque, people attacked them. People like assaulted them because they were so angry about it. That's just one example. Like Dimitude was not nice. It was not nice at all. And also, blaming all on the French is really rich because most Moroccan Jews did not leave under French rule. Most of them left after French rule. Most of them left after independence. But okay.
People can say things that they don't mean. People can say things because they want internet clout and attention. I don't know. I think they're both probably guilty of saying things that they don't mean for internet clout and attention. Right now, one's a little bit more nasty to me than the other.
I just don't see how you can be my friend and also be friends with.
Actually, many Moroccan Jews went to France. Most Moroccan Jews went to Israel. Algerian Jews went to France. The Moroccan Jews, the ones who went to France because there were transit centers in France, and then they went from France to Israel. Like what? Moroccan Jews mostly went to Israel in the end. The Algerians went to France. Anyway, bathroom. What an incredibly video. What the? Whoa. Hello.
With someone like that.
Well, you can't. So I already forgot about you.
I actually have a lot of friendships that are kind of that way, where it's like, you know, one of the friends doesn't with the other friend, but there is someone in the middle who kind of with both of them, but separately. Yeah, there's a lot of friendships that are like that. I'm not gonna make you guys like meet up and kiss or anything. I get it. You guys are in. You're either my best friend who's deep throating me to the base of my cock, or you are Satan. You're the devil.
The last thing I said to Anisa, we were texting before I ever talked about it. She's like, I don't care about this guy. He's a nobody. And you know, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, then you'll have no problem.
Wait, is Hangnail saying she wants to give historical context about iDubbbz? Okay. I can't. Do I want to open up Discord, though, and risk everything falling apart? It shouldn't. The sound card might kill me. No, we're not doing it that later.
Publicly denouncing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, the conversation ended.
She never replied.
Ethan, you can't even phrase it in a way that doesn't make you sound like you're being coercive in. Well, then, you should have no problem publicly denouncing it, right? Does that sound like a friend? It kind of sounds like something a powerful villain would say.
You could also just watch old videos as context. Which old videos? Of iDubbbz? I thought iDubbbz like said the N-word and he was edgy and shit. Isn't that him? And then he cried about it. Is that it? What context? What else do I need to know? He said the N-word, but was edgy, said sorry and cried. And now he's compensating by being a woke. The same. He's basically just got the same mindset, and he's turned it on its head.
But it was so funny how she immediately went to comment everywhere, like on our subreddit. She immediately had to comment like, oh, he doesn't work with us anymore. But that was it. That's all she said.
But then say that you don't
Okay. Do you have anything else to say for your friends, though?
One of the reasons Anisa was so quick to clarify things in your Reddit is because your Reddit was already talking about who this editor is. And they were spreading misinformation that it was our co-host on our podcast, Uncle Dane. So yeah, the last thing we wanted is this guy getting pulled into this mess, and you guys don't give a Would it have been nicer and more supportive to say, we don't agree with the things he's saying and we support Ethan and Hila? Sure. Like, yeah, that would have been a nicer thing to say. Our silence means something. It means that we would like to pause this relationship until you figure your shit out. And then maybe we can find a moment in time, I don't know how long it'll be, but a moment in time in the future where things are a little bit easier to broach. I don't think we need to do it right now, but you've insisted that this is an important thing to address. I would have been perfectly fine with you not blasting me on your Instagram story.
It's funny because isn't this just a crash out then from what the so they called him out for not being supportive despite him being a friend or for both sidesing or whatever, and now he responds with a 1 hour by aligning with all of Ethan's enemies and people who have literally like gone after his personal life and made speculations about his kids, and that's a bit of a crash out, bro. This is such a also we're almost halfway through. He said absolutely nothing of value. He has said nothing. What the he's made no argument. He's not really substantiated anything. He's just trying to say that, oh, Ethan's the one who's bringing all this on. A bit of both siding, but mostly Ethan's fault. With a few 3-second clips that are definitely not all from Snark.
Story. I would have been perfectly fine with you not blasting me and my wife on your podcast twice. I would be fine with you not brigading my comment section on my podcast that gets 3,000 views a week because I prefer to not to do harassment campaigns and instead talk about Vampire's Kiss.
At least say something like, he doesn't work for me, and I strongly disagree, and I support Ethan and Hila. The problem is
that she doesn't.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
She actually
She thinks they have a point.
Hey, vegan gains, how's it going? Wait till the Sabra bit. Oh, I love the Sabra bit. They're just I can already hear it in his voice now. These are just Arabs talking about hummus, bro. Ethan, you're losing the plot. Oh no.
Point.
That's the problem.
Yeah, so go f yourself.
Whoa.
I agree.
Go f yourself. What about your girl? This is what I'm talking about. This aggression that you're putting out into the world. What the f do you think we're gonna do? You think I'm gonna sit on my hands when you do this shit? Like, this is nasty. We had such a fair response to what you guys were going through. We don't support harassment. It's a bad thing, but it happens.
I mean, you apparently were sitting in your hand when one of the people you're collaborating with now was spreading disinformation that resulted in a CPS call being made on Ethan's family. But
you're perpetuating it.
You propagandist, lying scumbag, terrorist supporter. He probably sets up a mirror and jerks off watching himself. Dan KKK Clancy has a similar view.
Wait, what are these clips examples of? I missed that.
We had such a fair response to what you guys were going through. We don't support harassment. It's a bad thing, but it happens, and you're perpetuating it.
You propagandist, lying scumbag.
How is this harassment? This is him talking about someone and insulting them on a stream is harassment. Oh god, it's so gaslighty. It's so gaslighty. Fuck me. Bro, you're the harasser, and it's just them calling them a cunt. Like, mate, that's not me.
Supporter. He probably sets up a mirror and jerks off watching himself. Dan KKK Clancy has a similar view of Hitler. Because Dan Clancy, the Nazi, anti-Semite.
You can't expect other people to stop harassing you if you continue to harass people.
Wow.
Let's think about it on a micro level. Have you ever been in a comment section and found someone to argue with? It doesn't stop. It can literally go on forever if you don't want to touch grass.
I mean, yeah, this was kind of like a line, what happened today, that should never be crossed, even by like the most cynical.
Just to be clear, given that I am currently harassing iDubbbz, I guess, by calling him a moron in this video, that's not what harassment is. If that was all it was, if it was like Ethan calling Hasan like you terrorist supporter with your love for Houthis and Hezbollah, and then Hasan was like, oh, Ethan, like, why are you still supporting the genocide, blah, blah, blah. Like, that would be cringe and annoying, whatever, but that wouldn't be what's an accurate reflection of what's been going on with these guys for the last year. That's not what happened. Not even close.
Toxic people. It's going to have ramifications in terms of how how I conduct myself in terms of these fair weather friends who are, you know, so happy to be friends as long as they're getting something out of it.
Ethan, that is a rich thing to say. Like you're the H3 podcast, okay? There's a lot of friends of the show. There's even more fair weather friends of the show. Let's not get into this, okay? That is so bizarre and insulting to suggest that I was only ever being friends with you to get something out of it. No, I'm friendly with you, and I'd say I'm a light friend because it's been pleasant hanging out with you. I've enjoyed your content over the years. And as of late, it's gotten really.
I mean, that's what it looks like, though, because a real life friend doesn't do that. It's unless you're in school and you realize that like betraying your friend might help you get in with the popular crowd or whatever. But that's what he's done. There's no, I don't know. Maybe he's just like incredibly stupid, and he actually believes like sincerely that Ethan is the nucleus of this, is the instigator of all this harassment, and he's really just doing it to himself, and he's like actually crashing out because his wife is Israeli, and therefore he doesn't know anything about the conflict. Like, but no, this is him who's just literally dropping someone as soon as it's become inconvenient for him, and it probably helps him as someone who seems to have been someone who was edgy and then has tried to get over it and move past it by apologizing and crying. It's probably just gone the complete opposite way and just enacted all the same toxicity that he was doing in the past, but from a woke left perspective. Seems to check out.
Yeah, so go f yourself.
I agree.
Who else? Who else do we want to burn today?
Who else do we want to burn today? You're making it so obvious that this is your this is your emotional dumping ground. It's horrible. This is not what podcasts are. There was a way to approach
it
couldn't possibly mean who else is on us today or who else is betraying us or whatever. Okay, yeah, good. Very selective use of the language there. Okay.
To say like, yeah, we feel hurt by you guys not saying something.
Oh, but maybe iDubbbz doesn't understand. Oh, you realize that Hila is from a Middle Eastern background, she's from a Middle Eastern Jewish background, so she's gone through oppression, you know, by and he should understand it coming from me as well when I explain this, because I, as a Lebanese person, has had to endure the Ottoman suffering, you know, because the Ottoman Empire caused famines in Lebanon. You know, there's a pretty bad one in World War I. 100,000 people died, and not a large country. You know, I'm just very generationally triggered by a guy collaborating with Hasan and being friendly with him. It's so stupid. But I'm not Irish, so I can't do the double. You know, Scotland was still pretty much allies of the colonial empire. So, bro, I don't get that one.
You've decided to do the extra thing and attack. Now, in fairness, I am attacking back, but I feel very insulted and I feel defensive and I feel like I am speaking up for a lot of people who have problems with you and a lot of people who have been on the receiving end of your harassment.
It's so easy to be anti-racist. Everybody's anti-racist. Racism is the worst thing in the world, right? We hate racists.
Microaggressions.
The minute that they actually have to stick their neck out for somebody, the minute they have to actually risk something to put themselves in under scrutiny, to sacrifice something personally to stand up for racism, then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I don't want to get involved.
And that's drama.
How much do you care?
I don't do drama.
How much do you actually care? Isn't that the whole point? Like,
I realize that Ethan and Hila are more scared now than they've probably ever been. I feel like anti-Semitism is a thought in their heads now more than ever. And it's not completely unjustified to be thinking about that sometimes. You guys are just hurt and you're kind of like dancing around and making very like loose, poorly thought out analogies for something that doesn't even apply to us. It's like me making this video.
Yeah, I understand that it's a thought, yeah, that you're thinking about it. Listen, I can completely understand. I can completely empathize with the idea that anti-Semitism is something that you think about sometimes. Fucking hell, man. But even if this is supposed to be his attempt at looking empathetic and I guess like the omni woke. Why did he do that beginning with all of like Ethan's enemies dancing around and giving him the finger? And why did he? What's the tone of this video? What's he going for? I know what he's going. He's going for the best of all worlds. That's what he's doing. This is that thing where people try to just like he'll land all of his like sick ass dunks and his like condescension and all the like basically just like bullying tactics, like with that video at the beginning. They'll do all that, and then halfway through they get the best of the other world, which is like, listen, I'm just approaching you from one human being to another, okay? We don't think you're evil, okay? We just think you're going through a bad moment now. After you've just spent the entire thing like being bad faith, using clips out of context, like dunking and being incredibly gaslighty, and also just being like cruel. Like it's like, it doesn't make any sense. Why is he doing this now?
Standing up for something, and it's saying, fuck
it's just
you.
like, it's like that perfect marriage. It's that perfect union of like soy and toxic. Me.
You guys are being bad. You know, I don't think you're bad people, but you're being
Why are
bad.
you saying pre-watched? Oh, because of how the video ends. Okay. I was talking about this. Okay.
You're behaving poorly. You're hurting people.
I mean, go back to the civil rights. You think that the people who are like the white kids who are protesting with the black students, you think that they were just like not risking anything? Those kids who are marching with the black students and...
So in Ethan's analogy, he's the black student and I'm the white student, but I'm the white student that's not, you know, marching by his side. I'm not doing the difficult thing. You're gonna have to march on your own, black student.
Marching with the black students and...
I mean, why is it inspiring? Why is it inspiring?
Well, and it's the same thing, to bring it back to the song just because, but it kind of is the same thing. Like, I was thinking about going to Gaza until I found out it's dangerous. He's a total performative activist that doesn't give a single f about the cause.
Whoa.
It's been performed exquisitely. Harassing one person and seamlessly transitioning into harassing another.
Yes, that's harassment now. That's what harassment is. Yes. When people talk about being harassed online, that's what they're talking about. Someone said something mean about them in a podcast. That's exactly what we're talking about. That's the entire... And both sides are doing it.
Past year, I'm pretty sure they have a good idea of your feelings about Hasan.
Like, people like Anisa are the perfect example because she's friends with these people. She's friends with Denims. Denims is streaming this story about our kid
I'll show that, yeah.
getting Giarda from the dog, whatever.
I'm sorry. I'll accept this this position from anyone except you guys. You have laid the groundwork for this type of streaming, which is watching people and giving your unfiltered reaction to it. Why would you expect Anisa, of all people, to say something to Denims? Okay, so by that logic, we should be saying to you guys all the time. But I have a feeling you guys wouldn't like if we said like that to you all the time. Yeah, we've been respecting you as independent content creators. You can do what you want. We'll treat you as adults. Maybe we shouldn't have been treating you as adults.
She could say so much, and it would make her a little bit uncomfortable, right? It's not comfortable. She'll get a little bit of
yeah, just for
but that would be commendable.
Yeah, so speculating about someone's family and speculating about a situation of child abuse happening in a way that results in your chat saying that you should get law enforcement or CPS involved, not quite the same as dunking people on a slot podcast. Okay. How do you avoid this level of audience capture? I don't know, Sigma?
Which kind of, and by the way, it kind of speaks for itself that saying, hey, their house is clean, they're, you know, they're actually good people, like that's going to get you. That kind of says it all, doesn't it?
There isn't a single person that I respect who would give a if I publicly said that Ethan and Hila are great with their kids, Ethan and Hila didn't kill their dog, and Ethan and Hila wipe their asses or don't have giardia or whatever the prompt is. No one would care. The only person who would care is me, because I'm like, why did I tweet this out? I'm not tweeting out because I'm not your
maybe Ethan and Hila would have cared. Okay.
Fucking lapdog. That's why I'm not tweeting it out. I'm not saying it to my audience because I don't give a. It's not my business.
That's, in my opinion, doing something that's
Yes, it
difficult
does.
and standing by your principles. That's the whole point. That's what makes standing by your principles admirable, is that it's not always easy.
Why are you saying that I'm not standing up for my principles when you don't even know what they are? I get, like, we're a little bit past directly.
Just so we know, this guy is about to learn exactly what it's like to become a lapdog, because my God, if this guy steps out of line with the Hasan crowd, he is so done. He doesn't look like he would, though. He'll probably follow them right to the T.
Naming me, so we might have gone off on a tangent. If you maybe accepted the phone call and we talked about it, you could have asked me, hey, what are your principles? And I can tell you the way I've been behaving is exactly in line with my principles. Now we're going to talk about the BDS list. We're going to start off with Frogan because obviously this is like as bad as it gets. If you're following Frogan, that can only mean that you're anti-Ethan. Oh, this is not a good start. Love of the H3 podcast. You are following Frogan, so that means that you are anti-Ethan. Sam, more.
What is this straw manning? What the? I'm pretty sure I still follow, like, I unfollowed Hasan because he was being annoying. His tweets were annoying me. I think I still follow Denims on Twitter. It's not about following. Why is he doing this? Why has he just invented this standard? Is it because in a stream where he was talking about multiple different issues, but following was just thrown in there as one of them, he just decided to laser focus on that? Yeah.
Hi, friend of the show. Olivia, Ian, Daily Dose of Internet is anti-Ethan. Jesus, this is Pokimane, comment etiquette. Oh, Asmongold's in here. Asmongold follows Frogan.
Base.
No, Asmon. That means you're anti-Ethan. That's up. We're going to want to avoid these creators at the top of the list, but one tier below them are the creators who associate with them. They're essentially endorsing all of their statements. You got me, you got Anisa, I think Hasan's in there. You'd think that Hasan would be on the top of the BDS list, but that's not the case. Hasan provides additional value for people. Ethan can turn a blind eye to people collaborating with Hasan because that's what he did. You got to be the lowest of the low to be associating with the Frogans and the Denims of the world. To associate with Hasan, that just makes sense because he's famous and he's got a massive fan base. Also, Ethan still follows Hasan on Instagram, so Hasan is in his feed.
And that's showing up right up on Anisa's and iDubbbz feed.
It's important to remember that this is a living document and people can be removed or put onto it depending on how Ethan's feeling that day. You have this other tier of creators that exist below Hasan but are still anti-Ethan, but Ethan really doesn't want to bring your attention to these ones.
I'm sorry, I refuse to believe it. This person is an idiot and they talk like an idiot and everything about them just screams, I am a idiot. But this person doesn't actually, like, iDubbbz doesn't actually think that following someone is the issue. He doesn't believe that. This is just bad faith. This is just like intentional. This is very intentionally just looking for something to focus on because it was said in a much wider context about much more serious things. This is obviously intentionally disingenuous.
It's kind of unpopular, you know? A lot of them are famous. It's no coincidence that Ethan stays silent when these powerful, popular men are supporting Hasan. It's because Ethan is a coward. He's a bitch-made coward. I think Ethan has an unreasonable amount of respect for these comedians because they have power, they're quick, and I think he knows that they don't with his ideology. But he's going to keep that to himself because the last thing that he wants to discover is that people that he respects and looks up to, they don't with him.
Bill Burr came on. It was like the worst show. It was just horrible. That was like my lowest moment on podcast history. We could talk about Bill Burr, ruined my life. Bill Burr made Ethan go on Lexapro. I was prescribed it and it was in my bedside. And then it was the Bill Burr.
Okay. Maybe I do have to go into Discord because there are things, there's important context. Oh no. Let's give it a try. If it wrecks the mic, I'm so sorry. I think we can make it. Come on, give me strength. Okay? Okay, we still have a microphone. Okay. We still have a microphone. We're all right. We're managing. Okay. This is the CPS context. Okay. Thank you. Why is it 6 minutes? No timestamp?
So recently, Ethan Klein was visited by CPS because weirdo freaks online are trying to push this narrative that Ethan is an abusive parent and
this
his
is
kids
iDubbbz
are
comment.
being mistreated. About expecting anything genuine from these two is just wishful thinking. Instead of continuing just to stay out of the conflict, they decide to speak about it and why they're staying out of the conflict. Let's see what they have to say.
This is for a very specific subset of people who are very upset at my DMs.
Yeah. So Ethan's upset with I think some of our connections, and we've tried to reach out to Ethan to talk privately. Basically, it just seems like we're at a bit of an impasse. So we want to stay out of the drama as much as possible. We don't want to pile on and add to anything. So this is our lukewarm addressing of it.
I didn't want to choose a side between people I know, despite one side clearly being in the wrong.
We don't condone harassment of any kind.
Yeah, but isn't it quite clear now that after all this, it's clear that you agreed with Hasan's side and his friend's side more than Ethan. That's actually why. So he was lying here. Also, everything she says we can excuse, right? Because I know she appears to be the whitest of white Canadian American, whatever she's actually Lebanese Irish. Okay, she is currently coughing up blighted potatoes and getting bombed by the IDF at the same time. Okay, so if she says anything stupid, it's okay.
Episode that made me finally start.
When Stavros goes on Hasan's stream and he mocks your content nuke.
I actually saw a really interesting video about you, man, and I don't know that I'm even comfortable being here anymore.
Oh no.
It really kind of shed light on you in a way.
Yeah.
You kind of like have leftist politics and stuff like that, and I actually feel betrayed.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually just here to let you know this is the last time I'm ever coming.
You don't fire back because you're coping. So you're just going to tuck your tail between your legs and never mention on your podcast that mentions everything. You're bringing up some connection I have on Twitter. Someone mocks you on a stream. You're not touching it. You're a coward. It's just his job. It's just what he does for his job. He doesn't mean it. We're actually good friends. He makes fun of everyone. It's not just me, right? Oh, also, I can't forget about Matt Lieb. Matt Lieb is in this middle tier. His valuable association is Rhett and Link. So Rhett and Link, conveniently, are also in this category of popular and powerful men who Ethan does not want to burn bridges with. Although he's sniffing.
Okay, before we get into Matt Lieb, apparently this is very important context, okay? Hagnails, what's the important context? What are we waiting for?
So are you familiar? How familiar are you with iDubbbz?
I've said everything I know about iDubbbz in this current React.
Okay, so are you familiar with 2016 iDubbbz?
Nope. Edgy, I guess?
Okay, so yes, so kind of. Yes. iDubbbz was most famous for these content cops, which were basically just takedowns of really easy target mid 2010s era YouTubers like Rice Gum, Leafy is here, Tana Mogo, or however the fuck you say her name. But he also, during these videos and other videos of his, what attracted the most controversy is that he would do some questionable things. For example, during this era, he referred to his fans as N-word, F-words.
Base.
And then which is not good, but was not unheard of during YouTube culture at the time.
Yep.
And Ethan Klein was friends with him at this time during this 2016-2015 era. They were in this whole group, this cabal, you could say, of edgy YouTubers. So it was them, it was iDubbbz, it was H3. Do you know who Filthy Frank is?
No.
You don't know who Filthy? What the? So Filthy Frank. Okay, that's another edgy YouTuber from mid 2010s. Him. Who else? Max Mofo. Other people you haven't heard of. The point is that they did a lot of edgy content together. They would collab in real life, and Ethan and iDubbbz have maintained a friendship since then.
Okay.
But around 2020, during the whole you remember when Shane Dawson got canceled for being problematic?
Oh yeah.
And a bunch of other YouTubers were I disavow all of my mid 2010s content. Guys, I am the most sorry I have ever been that I did blackface in 2012. iDubbbz took this as an opportunity to essentially come onto YouTube and disavow all of his old content. He came onto YouTube and he was like, "Guys, at the age of 30, I have learned empathy." That is what he said. I learned empathy. And I disavow the way that I said N-word, F-word on YouTube on a public platform. I disavow the way that I burned the Quran for a meme. And a lot of people read that. I didn't have an issue with this. Like, I thought it was like, okay, yeah, sure, you probably should not have been saying the N-word in 2016. Thank you for acknowledging that. Let's all move on with our lives. But there was like a controversy about this, of course. Like, I think, what's his face? Moist Critical was like, he didn't need to disavow his old content. Other people were supportive. I don't really care either way. Anyways, Ethan Klein stood by him. Ethan Klein said the N-word for iDubbbz. And there was also, during this like 2020-ish era, this is also the point in which he starts dating Anisa, his now wife, right? And iDubbbz received a ton of hate for his relationship with Anisa because Anisa had the audacity to be an OnlyFans girl. So people were essentially calling him a cuck, right? Because, which is like, I don't particularly like Anisa for this whole stuff, but that's just misogyny, right?
Yeah.
And again, Ethan and Hila stood by iDubbbz. And the problem with this video is that, or one of the many problems with this video, is that iDubbbz Ian is just completely undercutting how close his friendship with Ethan was. They had been friends for probably over 10 years at this point. Like, and good friends. Like, as Ethan points out in his react, like, they knew each other's families. Like, and you're throwing this all away for a bunch of like two-faced, like, lefty slop tubers.
I mean, that's the vibe I'm getting from this video. Like, it's just a slop video, which is funny because that whole sphere, I believe, has already started watching the thing, haven't they? They've all watched it and reacted to it and boosted it. I don't know. I feel like there's this thing that people do where they look like they've made like a huge U-turn, but they haven't made a U-turn at all. People who did all that crazy like edgelord content, say like 2016 or like I don't even before 2016, because I didn't watch YouTube that much back then, but I watched TV and I knew what shows were like, and I knew what just regular culture was like. Like, it was socially acceptable to say the N-word every now and then and shit like that, and also like T-slurs and all that stuff. Yeah, it was a different time. But I think what people who have done this kind of like 180 thing is they're just playing by a like, it's the same mindset, but it's just slightly different rules. Like, they still engage in the toxicity, they still engage in like harassment and like gaslighting and all this, and like team sports and all that, but they've just chosen a different side. It's like a lot of those like ex-Muslim commentators who basically just find a new home in people who hate Muslims, and they still think like these like these people who call themselves like they were ex-jihadis, you know, they used to support terrorists and all that, but then they completely disavowed it, and now they're like ally with Tommy Robinson and shit like that. It's like, well, yeah, you still think like an extremist, you've just switched over. I don't know, I feel like that's the same thing with this. Like, he's just kind of, he doesn't look like someone who's learned anything. He's just gone for like the new opportunity, I guess, like the new trend, which is this shit apparently.
Yeah. But anyways, somebody pointed this out to me. The Froggy guy, the old editor, he was the one that called CPS, allegedly.
Oh, really? I didn't know we knew that, but okay, if that's the, how do we know? What's the evidence for that?
Somebody told me on Discord.
Okay. That's
not a high standard of evidence.
Not a high standard of evidence. Okay. Well, I don't know. People in chat are confused, so yeah, probably not confirmed. Wow.
Okay, allegedly.
There we go. Okay. Listen, that was an opportunity for growth, okay, and you took it.
Is there anything I'm missing? I don't know. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm
Okay.
gonna let you get back to the React now.
I feel really caught up. Thank you. All right, take care.
Yep.
Bye-bye. Okay.
Sniffing around.
This guy, Matt Lieb, he works for Good Mythical Morning. Of all people, this guy, Matt Lieb, who apparently is a producer for Good Mythical Morning. Well, this guy works for Good Mythical Morning, acting like he's wholesome, and he's bringing on somebody that wants to kill my wife or in a video game. And I think he should be fired, frankly. And I hope he is fired. He's pathetic. And he interviewed basically a terrorist.
I think Ethan only respects power right now, which is one of the reasons I made this video in the first place.
Well, that's
because
completely not engaging with it, okay.
he thinks I'm weak. He thinks a lot of these other creators that he's gone out of his way to attack, he thinks that they're weak, and he thinks they're a target that he can bully, he can manipulate, he can send lawsuits to. And I want him to know that we're not going to be bullied. You're being a piece of shit, and we're going to call you out.
So here's the button. You've got a video and you've got an audio. We're hitting.
Is born again woke a term? No, but it should be, right? Yeah, that's very like a serial killer who goes to jail and becomes a born again Christian, and they're just the most obnoxious. And then they have the audacity after they've murdered people to go and tell everybody else fits fit, set everyone else straight.
Both.
I'm just seeing Ethan's weight loss adventure. He looks great.
Yeah, I don't think it was that
was fine.
big a deal. Of all the things that it always surprises me what you think crosses the line.
Well, I looked at Olivia and she's like, yes, do it.
Now let's talk about the button. Ethan got this button, or kill switch, as a response to the controversy with Cutie Cinderella. He was not able to control himself in that moment, and instead of figuring out how he can change his behavior, he spent $20,000.
Dan and Hila were like, we would kill button that right now if we could. I can't change who I am.
I know. That's why the kill button is on its way.
That's it. See, exactly.
He uses the button for everything. If his jokes don't land, he's hitting the button.
It was being presented as if the Jordan crying thing.
I hit the button.
Why?
I don't think I needed to, but you guys were giving me crickets, so I panicked.
If he's insecure about getting something wrong, he's hitting the button.
But okay. What? Button for that? What on this frame could Ethan have responded to? Perhaps the country flag that he got wrong? Maybe. I don't know.
If he goes on a problematic tirade, he's hitting the button.
Before, look how sad. But yeah, it's not just that. Like their eyes are like big. I think you guys are wrong on this one. I think you guys are all wrong on this one.
Oh God!
I don't think he's unique in hitting the button. I think.
Yeah, this is you, mate. After what I've just heard that iDubbbz has done in the past, are we really giving a fuck? Like, come on.
All of us had buttons. We'd hit the button all the time. But if you don't have it, you operate differently. You think about what you're saying. You maybe plan for your show a little bit more. You maybe say, I'm not going to have my podcast be an emotional dumping ground for today. You instead say, ooh, it's important that we stay on topic. Also, the H3 community and Ethan himself use the phrase goblin mode all the time to excuse a lot of his shitty behavior or make it seem less bad.
I've been diagnosed with goblin mode, actually.
By claiming that what happens is he just gets into this like uncontrolled state he refers to as goblin mode.
I do not goblin mode.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's this person. Oh God. I still don't have my react to her hit piece that mentioned me. I still don't have that. That was the worst hit piece I've ever seen in my life. Might be second worst now, or third. I don't know. We've seen a lot of really bad hit pieces lately. Oh no. Wait, what?
Oh, yeah, you did.
Goblin mode? Is that what you're calling Tourette's now? To all victims of goblin mode, I would like to issue an apology.
You are goblin mode today. You're goblin mode. Look how many times you paused the
I'm trying, bro.
And I don't think there's no room for using the term goblin mode. I like the idea that you're defending yourself and the little guy by going goblin mode when a big corporation or a big entity is trying to attack you.
Like, if you fuck me over, if you steal money from me, if you patronize me, if you do any of this like you're trying to do to me, to treat me like a idiot, I'm crazy, dude. I've gone goblin mode over way less.
But you not thinking about what you're saying, not, reflecting on your behavior, not changing your behavior, that's not goblin mode. That's being a child. Let's talk about the crew. I think the crew has been put in the worst working environment that you possibly can be for a podcast. Every crew
Man, I feel so bad for these crew members. The shit that they have to deal with by proxy. And it's like, it's always the same shit as well, because iDubbbz said it earlier in this video. They always say, oh, I don't really want to get the crew involved. You know, they should really be kept out of it. You know, they're good people. Oh, excuse me while I bring up the crew and draw the spotlight on them. Me.
member has it bad. Like, to be around Ethan, period, would be a nightmare right now.
I'm standing by every syllable of that, okay? What she did was abhorrent. And by the way,
just don't listen. Your critique of her is correct. It's just, you know, people are sensitive about women being called that word, and so
like, how pathetic are you? You know what I mean?
Well,
I'm not assuming his pronouns, and all these people. Go ahead.
They do it with Palestinians. Why not do it with Ethan's crew? I'm still. Those anti-Hamas protests have not stopped. They're still going. They're still going, despite some of their leaders getting murdered by Hamas. They're still going, despite Israeli bombings still happening all around them. They're still deciding to bring their attention onto Hamas and protest against them, try to get them out. I'm still yet to see any substantial coverage on them from the likes of Hasan or anyone in that sphere, actually. Pro-Palestinian, eh? It's actually it's such a gross injustice that they get to adopt that label. Like, what the you don't give a about Palestinians, man. Like, it's just a narrative. You just care about a narrative that's like more Al Jazeera than Palestinian, but okay. Me. Gaza speaking. No, sorry, we're gonna watch Al Jazeera instead. We're gonna listen to Qatar.
And I'm not yelling at you. I'm just. Kelly is a black woman, right?
Yes.
Maziel is a
Korean.
Oh, Dan, come on. You're being such a buzzkill. Yeah, I don't know Korean. I asked if Koreans are POC. God.
You know, Dan's in the bathroom. Let's just not do this right now.
I asked if Korean people are POCs.
The one time the button didn't work and we listened to how he spoke to AB without thinking that the internet was going to hear it. It was rude, it was nasty, and it didn't have this shot of like, I'm not mad at you. It was anger.
Now wait, if this is what I think it is, the one that the snarkers were going after, there's no way. I feel like if that's the clip that he uses, this just tells you so much about these people and their audiences, but we'll see.
It was
Maybe it's something
uncalled
else.
for.
Use they get access to cover most of it.
You're doing it.
What are you
Making it
doing?
so awkward and terrible.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Just like this is what I'm talking about when it's always like.
We need to get home for our kids.
It's like, bro.
Oh no, I didn't want to finish it right now. I'm about finishing Wednesday.
On Friday, maybe. Is it?
You guys, like.
All right, I'm taking my hand off the. What? Okay, well.
Heard all that.
Thanks, button.
And he didn't want to take accountability for it. He immediately wanted to deflect. And
What? This is what okay. I feel like this is the most illuminating part of the video. This tells you, right? This tells you. If that's your opinion of a bad employer, if that's your impression of what a bad employer is like, or someone who's impossible to work around, or someone who's who's disrespectful to people they work with, mate, this is like, not only, so this is just the hardest evidence that none of these creators have ever worked a real job, and neither of anyone in their audience. It's just a bunch of privileged, with a privileged audience who has never had to take any from any boss anywhere ever, just arbitrarily deciding what a bad employer would be like. Me. No wonder. It's no wonder they have such a dominant presence on the internet, because what the else are they doing? What else are they doing? You're used to working with musicians as a producer. I've also worked for bosses, though. When I was quite young, yeah, like I worked in shops and all that, yeah. And even when I was teaching, I had an employer. What was the worst job you ever worked? Stacking shelves, bro. Working at the tills. My boss was a hothead. He was mad. But I mean, working with musicians as a producer, well, that's the other way around. Because as a producer, working with musicians is more like, you're basically more like a therapist or a childminder for working with bands. Especially when there are egos going around. But that's unbelievable that you would think that that clip is a sign of anything. Or if it's just one of these kind of like collective delusions where they all just hate Ethan so much that they convince themselves that this is like an example of him being a bad employer. Why don't anyone in the crew actually say that then? It's not like, because every single person in the crew now has realized that there's probably a bit of an incentive to turn on Ethan, right? There probably would be. Like even Mike said that he would make AB big. Like a kingmaker. Wild.
you want to say that the button him.
first of all, I appreciate the hard work.
I know
you've
you
done,
do.
and
I
I
know.
loved it, and I really enjoy it. But it's like every time we do it, it's like the show is what it is, and
I know.
it makes it.
I was being selfish.
No, dude, that button. Me,
Wow.
Dude. Like, can you imagine that button me over like that?
The button.
What a terrible
fuck
employer.
you?
What a
Who
disgusting man. See, the purpose there, and this is the thing that you'll encounter with employers as well, is that if an employer is going to tell you off for something, because again, they can, that's part of being an employer sometimes, is you want to sometimes like put someone in their place, or even just, that wasn't even that though. That was just him like disagreeing with something in a slightly like marginally pressured environment because they wanted to get home early or something. That's nothing. That's like, but yeah, you would press a button to do that and hide that because you don't want to like embarrass them in front of the public or whatever. Yeah, Ethan wanted to get home and AB wanted to keep going. That's it. It's nothing. Nothing. Like, I've had to do that a couple of times where an employer was giving me shit, and I was like, wait, why are you saying this to me right now when there are like customers around? Like, you should, we can talk about this later when we don't have an audience. And I was like, you know, shit like that. But that's quite basic. Is that what we're talking about with the button?
You yourself by being an asshole. He makes it seem like he's not a tyrant of a boss.
We're doing it.
A tyrant.
Awkward and terrible. I appreciate the hard work.
No, sorry, all these people, absolutely all of them. No, get a job. Just stop. The people on Twitter as well. I don't know. Like, just get a job. Snark, get a job. Hasan fans on Twitter, get a job. Denims, Mike from PA, SeanDaBlack, Noah Samsen, all your fans and you, get a job. Get a job. Work for a pissy boss who is probably the only person in the room more stressed than you. And you doing your job properly is basically what their well-being rests upon. And they take it out on you, and they're paid shit, and you're paid shit, and the customers are shit. Get a job. Me. It's really the only way. It's the only way that we won't end up in this situation. Join the military. There's only one other resolution.
Airstrikes. Bomb.
I don't know. It's just me.
And I loved it, and I really enjoy it.
Dan, his producer, is constantly clarifying things on the air and making it clear that what Ethan said was a joke. Ethan is being overly defensive, or he's saying things that are like not true and he's exaggerating.
People saw that. They thought that was what you searched to
I did
pull
not
up that
type
photo. So I'm just clarifying.
Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate you doing that. God forbid.
Because I buttoned it.
Why?
Because
it's not that big of a deal, man.
Just
Like,
your
how
inability to.
No. Hold on, Dan. How does it change anything? People knowing that we did it.
It's fun when it's a surprise.
Okay, well.
You just asked how it changed.
Surprise them on your show.
Okay, all right.
You know, I understand that that's his role, and he's, you know.
Remember when it was about saving Palestinians? Not really.
Ethan's made that his job, or Dan's made it his job. Ethan leans on it so heavily. In the same way that he leans on the button. Ethan is leaning on all of these people to be adults and look after his behavior and give all of this emotional and empathetic energy for Ethan, but Ethan refuses to give it back to them. Also, let's talk about AB and Lena, two Lebanese employees.
Hey,
and you just continue to talk
Lebanese,
about
let's go. Heck yeah. And as we all know, the Lebanese people should always take the side of the person who supports Hezbollah. Yes, the people, actually, because they all do. Yeah, that's what they do. That's what Lebanese people do. By default, if you're Lebanese, you're supporting Hezbollah. That's normal. That's what happens over there in that country. That's definitely reflected in their current governmental makeup. That's why their president is who he is right now, and their prime minister. Hell, bro.
conflict, like they don't exist. It would be nicer, a lot nicer, for you to shut the up about it. You're allowed to do that.
Hezbollah in Syria alone killed double that much.
See that was, if any, since these guys can't do the engagement, I might as well do it for them. That there was a bad thing. That was a bad argument, because Hezbollah have not killed twice as many people in Syria as Israel has in Gaza. If you want to take Assad and all his allies combined, which includes Hezbollah, then yes, they have killed more people, a lot more. Most of the deaths, like between 80 and 90% of the deaths in the Syrian civil war, especially the civilian deaths, were inflicted by Assad and his allies. That's just a fact. But Hezbollah, it's really hard to put a number on how many deaths were actually caused by Hezbollah themselves, because their presence in Syria moved in and out. That's it. But that's an engagement you could make. And then someone can argue, that's not, are we just splitting hairs then? So what, they helped the guy who killed all those people far more than have died in the entire Israel-Palestine conflict combined? Maybe not. You know, Hezbollah took a side. They made their choice. They made it proudly, actually. They supported Assad with all of the enthusiasm in the world. And he did correct himself later. Did he? Okay.
All right, I'm going to move on. I just want to play Hasan talking about that.
How likely would Assad have been to succeed without their support? As far as I know, I've heard arguments that make it sound like 50-50. Assad did look like he was on the back foot before Hezbollah intervened. It seemed like the intervention from Hezbollah was not so much numerical, but more logistical. Like they plugged a lot of very important gaps in training and experience and key areas of like key units that were not really well represented by the Syrian Arab Army because the Syrian Arab Army was trash. So yeah, I don't know. They probably saved Assad. Maybe, I don't know. It definitely would have been harder. Assad would have been in a much more difficult situation without Hezbollah, for sure. Pretty sure with Russia alone, they'd be okay. But Russia didn't help them in 2013, did they? When did Russia intervene in the Syrian civil war? That was later. When did Russia intervene? 2015. Yeah, so no, it wasn't Russia that would have saved them then. 2013 was when Hezbollah really got involved. Hey, we got the super chat goal. Thanks, guys. Augers. Let's go through them. Chiro Bandit, thanks for the 19.99. I really appreciate that. Jotun, thanks for the tier 1 sub. IJI Productions, thanks for the $5. Mold was invented by the English as a breakfast condiment. Yes. Fast and Bulbous, thanks for the $5. Chicken jockey. Okay. Don't know what that means. Sir Durf, thanks for the £10. Happy virtual housewarming. This is as good as it gets. Okay. Man, this flat is huge though. It's such a, I'm really happy with it. It's been a enormous stress, but once it's all together, I'm going to be quite happy with it. Lawson Harrison, thanks for the $5. The iDubbbz vid is totally worth watching. Pure good faith and definitely not a copy paste of all lefty Twitch IP vids. Well, I mean, at the very least, people like Mika's Rhetoric or Noah Samsen and all that, like, at least they tried, you know? They made an effort. This guy's done all, unless it's all concentrated right at the end. Seabugs, thanks for the 5 gifted subs. Michael Z, thanks for the $10. Money for you to get a producer. Wait, what? For the audio? Don't worry. Fine. Anthony Super, thanks for the $4.99. Not gonna lie, the new content cop is the worst video I've ever seen in my life. Godspeed. I'm kind of starting to feel that. Dwayne, thanks for the $5. I'd seen this and it made me angry. Want to give spoilers and anger to rant, but instead I will give you $5 and smolder. Hey. Thorn and Dr. Octobong, thanks for the tier 1 sub. Savage, thanks for the $4.99. Good to see you, Loner. Did you finally move yet? Yep, that's me moved. Newman, thanks for the tier 2 sub. Galeki, thanks for the $4.99. Entire videos like this. Pretty impressive, honestly, how blatantly bad faith all the arguments are, while still maintaining righteousness. Short Stack Goblin, thanks for the 50 Swedish. iDubbbz background is more purple than yours. Fix it. Wow. 3DS2 Max 23, thanks for the $10. Housewarming gift. Oh, you guys are so kind. Given the amount that I've had to spend on this move, thank you very much. Debugs, thanks for the $5. Could I please get boxed in? Yeah, I'm thinking about it. One day. John H, thanks for $2. Feels like this was just ghost written by Hasan and Co. No, it's because they all get their arguments from Snark, so it's probably all that. Dwayne, thanks for the $5. I want to say sorry for the 8% comment. Thought it was referencing a great grandparent, not 23andMe gene expression. Okay. Uber, thanks for the $5. iDubbbz is the first person to be smarter when he shouted racial slurs. Okay. Baron Zemo, thanks for the £5. To add what this lady is saying, iDubbbz made a video justifying the use of the N-word. Ethan was an N-word guy, but Dubbbz was the N-word guy. Wow. Savage, thanks for the $1.99. iDubbbz dropped the hard R as a bit, lol. Will Kane, thanks for the 35 Hong Kong dollars. The things you pick up on as you watch are point by point identical to Tiny when he did this reaction. Now we know where our welfare dollars go. Lawson Harrison, thanks for the $5. Lonerbox, you're acting like being a brown shirt isn't a full-time gig. Whoa. Punished Foxo, thanks for €2. Remember when it's about saving Palestinians. Nathan Denny, thanks for $5. Does Ethan know how shallow the points he's making are, or does it not matter to those that hate Ethan, don't care about the arguments being made? Yeah, I don't think they care. It's just bullying. It's just bullying tactics. Literally, just like watch any film or show that involves a kid getting bullied at school. Like it's not like you can debate your way out of it. You know, that's not how that works. It's not like you explain yourself to them and they're like, oh, well, I suppose I might just leave you alone then, son. All right, on you go. Like, no. Ryan, thanks for the tier 1 sub. Congrats on the new place. Love your work. Thank you. Jane Socks, thanks for $15. We need a good 90-minute stream tuning segment. What, like you already haven't, you had a great one just a minute ago. Shut up. Okay. New goal, guys, new goal. I've been off streaming for a week, okay? We gotta compensate. Compensate to
Bad empanada.
Ethan doesn't want to change, and he wants to bring the entire crew down with him because he's putting them in this position every day, right? But it's more important that he gets this off his chest. It's more important that he dumps. We're all familiar with Goblin mode. Well, Ethan debuted a new mode recently.
And by the way, my ratio is pretty good. Like I'm looking at like 20 goblin modes to 1 too far. Demon mode, let's call it.
Wow.
What makes demon mode different than goblin mode is goblins aren't really like an intimidating, powerful force. If the goblin is persistent, it can get what it wants.
When I'm done with the other one, the big one that's dropping probably next week, my full attention is going to you, George. Like the Eye of Sauron. I see you.
Is iDubbbz not going to say anything about what Bad Empanada's takes are or what he's done? Or is he just going to intentionally omit all of that for some interesting reason? Okay.
Out there, you cockroach.
Ethan, the reason the internet got behind you when you were being sued by Matt Haas or when you were being sued by Ryan Kavanaugh is because people saw you as the underdog. They saw you as the guy who's defending the common man.
I'm suing, and I cannot wait for you guys to read it. At the moment, we are writing 3 complaints for 3 people.
You are doing the classic rich asshole thing. You have a deficit of friends, you have a surplus of enemies.
Wow.
You feel really bad, you feel hurt, but you also have a surplus of money. So what can you do? You can use that money to bully and intimidate people. These public legal threats that you're making to fellow creators, these legal threats that you're making to people on Reddit, on Twitter, you're like, I'm hurt. These people are hurting me. What do I do to stop it? There's nothing
Okay,
I can...
if you believe that, then why don't you just engage with what the legal challenges are? Just be like, here's why I don't think this is defamation. If we're doing Noah.
can do to stop it? I'm powerless. No, you have a ton of power, you have a ton of options, you have a ton of choice. That's exactly what you get for being filthy rich, is you can do all of these things.
You know what? It's like how I feel about so much of this. It's like the Israel-Palestine content, and I say it's true on both sides. It's like if you watch, and I don't know why I never thought about wording it in this way before because it's so obvious. Say with Noah Samsen or any of these if you only watch their videos on Israel-Palestine, you would not even know that Hamas even existed. Barely. You would barely even be aware of who they are or what they do and what they believe. Like you wouldn't know when you, because for example, if you hear like Noah Samsen talking about the pager attack, he'll just be like, well, Israel carried out a terror pager attack where they bugged these pagers and they 2 8-year-olds died. I was like, really? Is that all that happened there? What? You wouldn't know that Hezbollah were the ones who fired on Israel on October 8th. You wouldn't know that Hezbollah embeds themselves in civilian areas, making it very hard to target them without hitting civilians as well. You wouldn't know that the overwhelming majority of people who were injured and taken out of combat by those pager explosions were Hezbollah, and Hezbollah admitted that. You wouldn't know that the complete majority of people who were killed by those pagers were Hezbollah. You wouldn't know any of that. You wouldn't know that Hezbollah has basically committed itself to an endless war of attrition to try and destroy Israel. When their leader, Hassan Nasrallah, has basically openly said that he wants like Jews from Russia to go back to Russia and Ethiopian Jews to go back to Ethiopia. You wouldn't know any of that. Same with Hamas. When people talk about Gaza, it's like they always talk about the destruction and the loss of life, which is important. You should talk about that. You should talk about the number of deaths. You should talk about the number of women and children who were killed. You should talk about the amount of damage that's been done and how irreparable so much of it is. And you should talk about all that. But don't talk about it and just not mention a thing about how the entire strip is laced with booby traps and tunnels, and you've basically got a de facto military government in there that built themselves up to make Gaza into the most impenetrable military fortress per square meter in the world, in like world history. Basically, you wouldn't know any of that. You would just think they're just like some passive entity. So by the same token, when I see iDubbbz making this video, all you see is, you would just think that Ethan was randomly lashing out at people who disagreed with him. That's all you would think. You wouldn't know about the CPS call in any detail. You wouldn't know about Bad Empanada talking about how he like wants to kill Hila. You wouldn't know any of this shit. You wouldn't know about how Frogan was the one who crashed out because Ethan quietly unfollowed her on Twitter after she was glazing Hamas. You wouldn't know why Ethan calls people like this terrorists. Not because they're brown, it's because they support terrorists. Like, you wouldn't know any of that. So even if everything iDubbbz here said was accurate and true and good faith, which it's not, even if, it would still be a dishonest representation of what's happening. Like the selectiveness is so unreal.
Do someone for defamation, but like at what point do you kind of have to? I mean, this is like basically someone calling you a pedophile. Be like, yeah, Ethan's a pedophile.
Dan Clancy or whatever, like the CEO of Twitch, and being
Pedophile. Dan KKK Clancy has a similar view of Hitler. Because Dan Clancy, the Nazi.
Okay. Ethan should not be calling Dan Clancy a pedophile. Okay, that's true. He shouldn't be doing that. Even if it's the case that all these wankers would call anyone else a pedophile if they were seen doing the same thing, because I think Dan Clancy was like, didn't he have like a Pornhub account where he was? Didn't he have a Pornhub account where he was only looking at, where he was basically exclusively looking at teen porn, and he was also caught looking at a bunch of booby streamers on Twitch? But again, that's not like, you shouldn't call him a pedophile. It's a very strong charge. He said in the longer clip, it's obviously a joke. Did he? If that's true, then send it to me. I don't think it's untoward for Ethan to use hyperbole when he insults people. It's a problem. I also didn't agree with him calling Denims a bitch, because again, it's not just her who hears that, it's like women in the audience who hear it as well. And then men who hear it in the audience, they think it's acceptable to start calling women bitches when they cross an appropriate threshold. But the full clip is in this video. Really?
Anti-Semite. There are certain things you can accuse people of that rise above to make it like actionable, which is like wrongfully accusing someone of being a pedophile, a sex criminal, a murderer, like that. Dan Clancy now, in other words, he is a pedophile.
You have so much less to go off of saying that than anybody has about Dream.
Based on his looks. Just based on his
Well, at least you're self-aware.
That's 100% a joke. I have no evidence to conclude.
Oh, okay, so it's in the video.
One of the more notable legal threats that Ethan
So is iDubbbz, is he dishonest, or is he just incredibly stupid? Does he not realize that by providing that context, that makes him look like he hasn't got a leg to stand on? That these are the examples of Ethan. Okay.
has sent out recently is against Noah Samsen.
I have nothing but vibes to gain, and potentially your money as well. Don't worry if you don't have it all now. I'll garnish your wages. You're going to be living with your parents for a lot longer, buddy. 26, you know what I mean? Try 46.
Noah made a video that was critical of Ethan and other content creators when they're talking about Israel and Palestine. I mean, the way he's talking about Noah on his podcast is so creepy and weird.
Is this a new thing?
This is a new thing. This happened during the show. Upon initial examination, it seems to check out, and it's not great for young Noah.
Can I say that? Don't say it yet.
I'll say it.
So he's a rape. So of course his standard. I don't know what he's accused of, so I'm not actually going to say. But
Ethan brought on a former partner.
No, I cannot come to your Israel-Palestine class at Brown University. What the? Why are you saying that? I'm going to go and do a tour. I'm going to go and do a live tour. Why am I going to Brown University? What? Stop.
Of Noah to basically just talk him and say that he's a bad partner. But that's all that Ethan was able to extract out of it.
You are not accusing him of committing any crimes or doing R-word or anything like that. The accusation is that he's a sleaze.
Absolutely. Noah Samsen, as far as I know, is not a rapist.
You to Noah Samsen, who's not just a liar and a scumbag, but also a creep, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Now let's talk about the left-leaning Democrat.
He presents himself as someone like me.
Yes, I only visit white universities. Thank you very much.
Left-leaning Democrat who supports basic things.
The thing that made me start to question Ethan's intentions is that when he was suggested to talk to Sam Cedar, a fellow progressive, a guy that Ethan respects and looks up to.
He works for with Sam Cedar.
Are
But
we
the
going to
majority
include
was for.
Hasan's clip here about how he felt like he needed a fellow Jew to speak to him, and Sam Cedar? Oh, that was so funny, man. Fuck.
I respect him and what they do there.
He kept saying that it was racist or anti-Semitic to suggest that he talked to someone who's within the same ethnic group as him.
That's why I said yesterday, like, I urge Ethan to talk to
Hey,
Sam
here it
Cedar.
is.
There are very thoughtful, very kind anti-Zionist Jews out there that he could talk to. I don't think that I will be able to reach him.
What's the insinuation that I only listen to other Jewish people? You need to talk to my pre-approved.
Jewishness is irrelevant to Ethan. No, it's not. That's not the point. The problem is that Hasan is acting as if Hasan is the one who's acting as if Ethan needs a Jew to persuade him. Like, he won't be persuaded by any non-Jew. Like, because again, like in Hasan's view, any Jew who's like a Zionist is a Jewish supremacist. That's what he thinks it is. He thinks Zionism is when you think Jews are better than everyone else. And that's Hasan's like little quiet way of saying like, well, even though my arguments are incredibly well thought out and very coherent, you won't listen to me, because I'm a filthy Turk or whatever. Like, because the Jews are famous for oppressing Turks. I didn't even know Sam wanted to talk to Ethan. I thought he didn't. Weird.
List of Jews.
Sorry, Hasan. Like, Hasan will never really say this openly. He'll just kind of, he knows it's a thing. He'll just never try to, he wants to kind of keep it on the down low. But the problem is that anti-Zionist Jews are a minority, like amongst Jews. Most Jews would meet Hasan's threshold for being a Zionist easily. It's a fact.
That like agree with me on everything. It doesn't matter if they're Jewish, dude. It doesn't matter if they're Jewish.
I think most Jews.
I don't think Jews
this
at
is
large
crazy.
view it. I don't think that is the.
In what position are you to even say that?
It's not motivated by myself. It's motivated by Jews against anti-Zionist
No,
Jews.
seriously, how can you speak for my entire ethnic group? I find that really interesting.
Ethan, I don't know what to.
Oh, these are two completely different conversations. One is about Hasan trying to weasel around the fact that most Jews don't agree with his position on Palestine and Zionism. The other is Hasan saying, oh, I tried to get him to talk to one of my Jew friends because I don't think I can do it. It's beyond my capabilities now as one of the largest political creators in the world. We need to get a good anti-Zionist Jew to talk to. These are two completely different conversations. God, this guy's stupid. Fuck.
I can tell you, this is like step one of having a leftist ideology, is recognizing our race, religion, nationality, all this all shape our experiences as people.
That's the reason why it'd be better served to have this conversation not with myself, but with an anti-Zionist Jewish person.
Why does it matter if they're Jewish?
Because I'm not Jewish, and you've said in this conversation that, like, how can you tell me how to feel about the situation?
No, they're talking about what the majority of Jews believe. I remember this debate. This debate was about what the majority of Jews in the world believe. And Hasan kept on saying, oh, but Jewish voice for peace. Yeah, Jewish voice for peace. The fact that you're literally scrambling to find a handful of organizations that are quite small in the global context is because you know that the majority of the Jews in the world don't agree with you. That actually, the majority of the Jews in the world, with the way they answer questions about Israel, would make you think that they were Nazis. But I mean, that's just your own issue to wrestle with, I guess.
Yeah, but how is one person a representative of Jews at large? I'm just telling you how Jewish people around the world interpret that phrase.
Why don't you just look at the data? Okay.
On
he was just saying interpret that phrase, river to the sea. Just because iDubbbz thinks it's disinformation or propaganda to say that river to the sea means there's no more Israel. Eesh.
You might be suggested to talk to someone who has some crossover with you. It doesn't have to be your ethnicity. It could possibly be someone who shares progressive ideology with you. It could possibly be someone...
But so does Hasan. I thought it was the overlap there that was explicitly referred to by Hasan was the fact that they were Jewish.
Who is of your same gender. I think Ethan understands this concept very well. He listened to these women on his show when they told him that he shouldn't be calling women bitches.
This bitch is intolerable. You are such a nasty bitch, Ken.
I don't know if you can call her a bitch, though.
She is a bitch. She's a
what do you-
fucking bitch.
okay,
I
I'm
call her a
curious-
see you next Tuesday.
Listen,
if
you
I
have
could.
you have
Curious, what do Lena and Sam think about it?
I wouldn't be okay with that.
Yeah.
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 I feel like that it's for the girlies, Ethan. But I
So
agree.
you guys all seem to be
Yeah.
in consensus that it's in
are.
poor form.
Yeah, I mean that's the fact. Is like people would have, if these people didn't spend the last year and a half denying the rapes on October 7th, they'd actually have a pretty strong leg to stand on here with Ethan having the tendency to engage in misogyny. Because I think calling women, like even if they're like women, like calling them bitches is just like there's a lot more social like language that's being spoken there when you do that. Like, you shouldn't really do it. Where's my B word apology? I never called you a B word. What? I intentionally stopped myself from that, actually, buddy.
I think to respect the women here in the room,
Buddy.
I'm going to have to pass on saying that.
The infantilization of Ethan Klein is nauseating. He's not a child. He is absolutely capable of looking into Hasan, learning about his politics, interviewing, doing loads of things to figure out where he stands.
He presents himself as someone like me, a left-leaning Democrat who supports basic things.
And for the first time, I noticed an inordinate amount of radical, hardcore leftists. I mean, I thought we were social democrats, not whatever this was. This comment from Hasan really started to sound some alarms in my head. I was already getting uncomfortable with our partnership. I started to wonder if I had any idea who this guy actually is.
You made how many episodes with Hasan? Like, this guy made a program with the biggest mega leftist on the platform. Now he's acting like he was
To be fair, I don't know about the whole like being surprised about Hasan being a communist. The problem with using words like socialist or communist is that, and socialists and communists do this, is that they wriggle around with the definition of that word so shamelessly that they can probably get away with that kind of thing. But the fact is that I think Ethan was probably surprised, and you could see it because this is when it started becoming like viewable when it started becoming news almost in the content sphere, was when Hasan was defending like China, when he's defending the CCP, right? When he was downplaying like what happened in Tibet or what happened with the Uyghurs. Like that was, or Taiwan, like that was where you probably wouldn't expect that based on a first interaction with Hasan, because Hasan does do that. He downplays his true ideological goals, and he's admitted to it as well. Like in the clip from the Deprogram, he's admitted to that. And also, even me, like I was a Hasan hate watcher long before October 7th. You know, I made a couple of videos about him being wrong about all kinds of shit. But man, even I was I was very surprised by the fact that he wouldn't just disown Second Thought for saying that there are no Israeli civilians, when he wouldn't disown the Deprogram podcast for their views on Israelis. Like that was insane to me. And then over time, I think you can even find a clip of me around November or December 2023, when I'm basically saying, talking about Yemen and how people don't really have an interest in Yemen because you can't really pick a side. Like you might hate Saudi, but who's going to support the Houthis? You can probably find a clip of me saying that. Like I was so surprised to see that people would actually start being like friendly towards the Houthis. Same with Hezbollah, same with Hamas. Like, but they did. Hasan literally just wrote off the Second Thought thing as a different school of thought, he tried to call it. Like that's insane. So yeah, you would be surprised to hear that your lefty progressive friend is defending like Islamic fundamentalists who target civilians. Like that's a very strange thing for a normal person to encounter. Hasan might have never called himself a liberal, but Hasan does present himself as the kind of socialist, depending on which environment he's in, who just wants healthcare and progressive taxes. He does do that. And he admits to doing that.
And he was incapable of figuring out what this guy's beliefs.
Who has it actually? Who has the video from Leftovers? If anyone has the clip from Leftovers of Hasan being confronted by that Second Thought clip, by Ethan with that Second Thought clip. Does anyone have that? If anyone has that, they can put it in stream suggestions in the Discord, because that's like a really useful, that'd be quite useful for this.
Bro, I didn't make the leftist program. You did. You made, what, 60 some odd episodes of this for hours talking to this guy? You didn't have a problem with any of it until, Ethan talks about being aware of Hasan's 9/11 comments. and then sort of leaves
It
it
also
at,
wasn't that. They also started to have a bit of friction over the CCP in China and like Russia, Ukraine and stuff like that. They were already being a little bit awkward about the capitalism, socialism thing before October 7th.
that. Like it was just a joke. Actually, I think Ethan describes them as edgy moments or jokes.
You might remember him from such classics as
America deserved 9/11, dude. F- it. I'm saying it.
Now, to be clear, I knew about all
Let's
these
go.
edgy and controversial jokes at the time we made the show together, because who am I to judge?
No, Ethan, those aren't jokes, right? When someone makes a controversial statement like that, that's not them trying to be funny. I can understand.
Okay. It's not a joke that America deserved 9/11? Okay. God, this guy's so stupid. Why am I, what's the point? What's the point explaining anything? Let's just watch him. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Go for it. Why not?
Because
So Hasan is a terrorist then? Because if it's not a joke, then that is actually pro-terrorist.
who am I to judge?
No, Ethan, those aren't jokes, right? When someone makes a controversial statement like that, that's not them trying to be funny. I can understand why you would.
Didn't he say this literally just like 2 seconds after saying that Dan Crenshaw got his eye hole by a Mujahideen brave soldier? Of course that's joking. Of course he's joking. What?
Conflate the two. That is someone who is extremely frustrated and passionate about a particular topic. In this case, American imperialism and terrorism. You could have looked into that. You could have talked to Hasan a little bit more and found out what his international politics opinions are. But you wouldn't even need to do that. You can look at it online.
Yeah, but Hasan wouldn't have said, yeah, I actually wasn't joking. I was sincerely expressing my anger with American imperial. No, he wouldn't say that. Hasan would say, yeah, it probably wasn't the best thing to say, but you know, all that aside, one has to remember that the American imperialism, the damage, the destruction, and the genocide of Israel, that's probably what he would say, you know, something like that.
You're not a victim. You weren't tricked. You made 60 some odd episodes. If you didn't want to go down this route, you shouldn't have done it. But that was your choice. You did it. You are an adult. When Ethan and Hila are watching Matt Lieb saying that one state doesn't represent all Jews, they cannot wrap their heads around the idea.
No single person represents all Jews.
I'm just telling you how Jewish people around
No single person represents all Jews.
Oh, that's Matt Lieb. This guy's absolutely insane.
I'm just telling you how Jewish people around the world interpret that phrase.
No single person represents all Jews as
That's saying that's not you representing them. That's you appealing to some consensus or some majority opinion. And maybe it's wrong. Maybe most Jews actually don't give a when they hear from the river to the sea. We know that all Israelis do, so that's almost half of them. So it's not hard to find a majority of them who probably are unsure about that phrase. Unless you have any counter evidence.
no single state represents all Jews.
Whoa.
This is another weird thing.
Oh my God.
Israel, this is a lie that I see Hasan and people pander. They say that Israel's going to war on behalf of Judaism. They have never, I don't believe that that's ever been stated. And I don't think Israel ever explains that it's like, I think Israel says it's a place where Jews can go.
Israel's just a
I don't know if they ever say that they're doing it on behalf of Judaism. Because when people say Judaism, it sounds like they're talking about their religion. But there are people who think that just because Israel's a Jewish state, that means it's like a religious fundamentalist state, which is silly. That's not really how that works. But no, I mean, Israel, even especially now with the Likud, like Israel sees itself as the safe space for Jews in the world. Like that's the progressive way to put it. They see the country as the place where Jews can live and not suffer persecution. And some Jews will actually say that, yeah, I prefer the odd fear of like a rocket or a bomb or a terrorist attack than just spending every single day worrying about like my Jewishness being exposed in the wrong area or like hate crimes or whatever. Yeah, some people just prefer that, and that's usually how that goes. But yeah, no, like Israel does see itself as kind of like the safe haven for global Jews. That's why they try to encourage Jews from around the world to go there. But okay.
place Jews can go. With that slogan, we might actually have peace. You know, if that's all you're defining Israel as, is a place Jews can go. Like, sure, it sounds like America to me.
Well,
like,
no. America being just a place Jews can go would Palestine or Israel being a place Jews can go would still be a problem. What is iDubbbz like a two-stater now, or what's he talking about? That's actually a problem for a lot of these people, though. It's a problem for people like Frogan. Frogan doesn't want them to be in Israel. She wants them to be in Brooklyn. But yeah, I don't know. This guy, he's just lodged himself into this discourse without knowing anything about it. You can tell, like, the way he's talking about each particular issue. Like, he's just betraying his ignorance so blatantly. Where's the Frogan clip where she's saying that they should go back to Brooklyn? What is it, Druze? Not that one, is it? Oh, it is. It is, because this was the this was the what do you call it? The how many mistakes can you make in one sentence in 1 minute? This was the Frogan 60-second challenge. It was, she says so many things in this. It's not the Druze thing, it's the go back to Brooklyn, right?
Just one day after the October 7th massacre a year ago, Hezbollah joined the war against Israel. It launched an unprovoked attack on our cities, killing civilians without distinctions. Jews, Christians, Muslims, and Druze.
Okay, so they said that
is a Druze. Brilliant.
They're killing
we talked about last time. It
Druze.
was,
There was the village in the Golan Heights. The Hezbollah rocket came down and hit kids playing soccer.
It did, yeah. This guy will try. I remember this guy tries to say that no one else agreed with that. That's not true. Hezbollah claimed responsibility for a strike in the area. They said that they were firing rockets at the area. A rocket hits the Majd al-Shams where the kids are playing football. It leaves an explosion far too big to be an IDF interceptor, because IDF interceptors have a self-destruct for one. And even when that self-destruct doesn't go off, the explosion is too small to be what was in that video. But yeah.
But everyone says Israel shot the rocket down and it hit the kids
but
playing
everyone in what, your social media feed off.
That was in the Golan Heights. Muslims, it killed one person in Palestine. It hasn't killed any Christian Palestinians that I'm aware of, or any Christian Israelis, and it hasn't, I don't think. And I think it killed.
Why did she do that? Is that her looking up on her phone?
It hasn't killed any Christian Palestinians that I'm aware of, or any Christian Israelis, and it hasn't, I don't think.
What the? Okay.
And I think it killed Jews.
Are they Italian, or what's that pronunciation?
It killed IDF soldiers. So I think Hezbollah has not killed anyone else.
Israel has decided to put an end to this. We've decided to do whatever is necessary.
Yeah, they haven't killed any. Yeah, they only displaced like 70,000 people. But
our people safely to their homes.
By killing people.
Israel has a right to defend.
Listen to this part.
Israel also has a right to win, and Israel will win.
Israel has a right to win is insane.
Everything about this video is so stupid. This is like the most amazing 1 minute and 23 seconds. Like, how much nonsense? Why is it insane to say that Israel has a right to win? Well, against an army that's attacking them. Yeah, probably.
Insane. To win what?
Return to where, to Lebanon?
No, what they're saying.
He's talking about the displaced people returning to northern Israel. Frogan doesn't even know. Why did I watch this again? Oh yeah, they go back to Brooklyn. Frogan doesn't even know what he's talking about. People returning. He thought there were what, settlers returning to Lebanon? No, it's Israelis wanting to return to the north of Israel. Me.
Thing is, they're trying. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to get rid of. The people, okay, he's got over 100,000 people in northern Israel that will not go back to their settlements in northern Israel.
Yeah.
Good, bye. Go back to Brooklyn, bitch. Like, you have your house there.
Okay. So
true. Northern Israel, famously full of Brooklyners. That's what happened when I was there, you know? Couldn't get away from it. You got like a Hezbollah rocket crashes in the field and sets a fire, and then all you hear is a bunch of northern Israeli Jews being like, hey, I'm walking here. What is this guy? Some kind of an asshole? Jeez Louise. That's all I could hear.
All right.
I don't think that Israel said they represent all Jews. I don't think that's a stance. We're like, hey, displacing Palestinians is all Jewish people.
Ethan is being so disingenuous here to suggest that he doesn't understand what Matt Lieb is saying. Like, he's making a semantic argument. Like, I don't think Israel has said that it represents every last Jew on the planet. I don't think Israel has claimed that. They're not going to say that their most genocidal behavior represents anything to do with them, okay? But what they are going to do is they're going to inexplicably link Israel and Jewishness together, so when they're being criticized, all of a sudden, they have the perfect defense. Oh, another thing I need to mention.
I love it that people just think that Israel is like, the way that these guys tell this story is so stupid. It's like, okay, you think that Israel is just any other Western white colony, but they just happen to be Jewish, so they just use that fact as a way to excuse what they did and what they're doing. That's it. Like, what? Surely you would not look back and like, okay, why did a bunch of Jews end up in that area? Like, why did they go there? Like, why didn't they go somewhere? You would ask so many different questions. It's not just like, oh, we're just like exactly the same as the French in Algeria, but we're just going to, thank God we're Jewish and we get away with it. No, the fact that they're Jewish is the entire reason they ended up there, right? The fact that they're Jewish is the reason that people fled Russia. It's the same reason people fled Europe in the 20s. It's the reason that people who wanted to flee Europe to America after 25 couldn't go because America capped immigration massively. They set quotas to keep more Jews from going there. Why did they go during the Holocaust and the war? Well, it's because they couldn't go anywhere else, because the Evian conference and every other country in Europe and the Western world was like, no, not our problem. Off. Like, yeah. And then after the backlash of the 48 war takes place in all the Arab and North African countries, why do they all end up going to Israel, barring like some Algerians going to France? Well, it's because that's the only place they could go. It's not just like, oh yeah, we do all the bad colonial shit, by the way, we're Jewish, it's fine. No, the fact that they're Jewish actually is a pretty important part of the story. It's a pretty important variable into how they ended up there, why they stayed there, why they don't want to go anywhere else. Eugh.
There was a tier list. It was called the Who Can Say Habibi tier list. It was presented at TwitchCon as like a panel that was just meant to be lighthearted and fun. And Ethan Klein saw that, and he decided that it was anti-Semitic.
Tier list them, and we're going to need your help to discuss and figure out who can say Habibi and who can't.
And also, we have tiers. We have Arab coded. They ask permission to say Habibi. You know, like you got like a white guy who's like, can I say it? Is it a slur? And then Love Sabra, which is they're not Arab coded at all.
Now, when I first saw this tier list, I immediately knew what it was doing. I was like, oh, it's a play on the who has the N-word pass and who doesn't tier list. Granted, Habibi is very different than the N-word, but it is a cultural word amongst Arabic-speaking people and Muslim people. Like that is a word that's used. Habibi, it means my love. Oh no, don't do that, Habibi. Oh yes, Habibi. You're my Habibi,
this
I'm
guy's
your
telling
Habibi.
us what's what.
So yes, it's meant to be a fun way that these Arab content creators can express their Arab culture and be proud of it and happy about it. Because it's not like they have
why is it expressing your Arab culture by on like Sabra hummus, unless like he's actually giving it away a little bit as well, like the defining yourself in opposition. Well, yeah, like Arab explaining. It's the problem with the Sabra tier, with that tier list of Arab at the top and like Sabra at the bottom, and these people have said it as well. Like that Millhouse guy said it, and so did Frogan. They've said this about Sabra. They think that Israelis, that Jews, do not belong in the Middle East because they'll say that Israelis only eat hummus and they only made Sabra because a bunch of white Ashkenazis came over, found Arabs eating hummus, thought it was quaint, murdered them all, and then stole the recipe and made it and Western. That's not what happened. Israeli Jews eat hummus because most Israeli Jews are from the Middle East. That's why they eat Middle Eastern food. That is why that particular specific hatred of Sabra and calling it cultural appropriation and all that basically betrays a dishonest interpretation of Jewish history. It's them just denying Jewish history and like why and Jewish connection to the Middle East. That's it. That's all. That's what it's about. That's why it's problematic. Problematic.
Massive representation on the platform.
Making a tier list based on race, and nobody has a problem with that. Okay, you have a tier list based on race. Where's the Jewish panel? Where's the Jewish panel? Where at the top it says Jewish. It's a tier list based on
put Jew at the top and then put watches Al Jazeera at the bottom. You know, how can you defend Al Jazeera? Al Jazeera is really bad. Qatari state media, slave economy.
To Jew. He's Arab, which is good. That's the best thing you can be on this. That's the best. This is racist.
I will say that conveying information through a tier list is not the most effective thing, but Ethan should understand this principle. He did a white slurs tier list with Hasan.
Cracker.
I mean, you know what my take is.
We can't put this as an F. Cracker. I mean, that's got to be at least a D, right?
Pale face.
Pale face. I mean, again, I think that's an F. Hog.
So hog is my favorite.
I use it all the time.
Him and Hasan feel as though they're white guys, so they felt very comfortable talking about white slurs on their tier list.
I think I'm more white than you. What do you think?
I think I'm white. Like, I'm super white.
Can you understand why Arabs might feel comfortable talking about Arab shit on their tier list, Ethan?
That's not what they're talking. Does he think it's like a racist tier list because they're talking about saying Habibi? This guy's, he's so out of his depth. He is so out of his depth. He's just followed this because it's popular. That's the only reason he's here. Like, how confused, how eternally confused do you have to be? The complaint isn't that it's about a Habibi pass. That's not what it's about. The problem is with the implication that, like, Sabra is culturally appropriated by white colonizer Israelis, which is what these people on that panel believe. These people. Wow.
White guy, you think you're more white than Hasan.
I think I'm more white than you.
So yeah, the white guy can say all the things that he wants, like cracker, but the Arabs can't have their tier list.
I would put him also in Arab. I know Turkish people are different.
Notice how they dropped the premise almost immediately that it's about who can say Habibi. And then it's like Hasan, okay, actually he's Arab. We love him. He's dope. He's Arab.
Habibi is an Arabic word. That is an Arabic word, Ethan.
Funny about this.
What?
Does he think Turks speak Arabic?
I don't know. Who knows? Okay, the tier list thing is killing me because it would be like a bunch of white people making a white people slur tier list and then having the bottom level be like likes fried chicken.
Yep.
Like, I'm losing my mind. How does he not? He's so dumb. Okay, I had to say that. I'll get out of your head. All right, talk to you later.
I bet that would be insensitive. Because you know the real people who like fried chicken are Yemenis. They have a KFC in Yemen. I know that thanks to Hasan's journalism. Would never have known that otherwise.
This whole thing is that they say Habibi in Israel. Again, people underestimate just how like mixed Israeli culture is. Like,
we say Habibi in Israel. Yes, Ethan. Another piece of evidence as to why it isn't anti-Semitic.
This is racist.
If you're not Arab or understand Arab culture at all, which is a lot of Americans, and Ethan Klein presents you this tier list and calls it anti-Semitic.
Bro, this guy has just made the most incoherent argument possible. He's implied very... He's implied
something
that...
wrong with your headphones?
What? No, why?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, isn't it weird that none of those people talking about that tier list actually speak Arabic?
Well, I don't know if they don't or do. I guess I've never heard any of them speak Arabic.
We both know that none of those.
I think one of those
people
guys is
on
an
that
Arabic
panel.
speaker, but okay, yeah.
He's probably a diaspora Arabic speaker, which means like he knows Sabah al Khair.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes. Morning the
Kif
good.
halak?
Morning the good.
Morning the good.
Sabah al Noor. Okay.
That's the response to Sabah al Khair. Good job.
I know it is. It means morning the light.
Oh.
That's how it translates to English. It's morning the
don't
good, and the
translate-
response is
don't-
morning the
don't
light.
translate to English.
That's
Don't
amazing. That's
translate
such a
to
good translation. Who the talks like that?
I know, but it's
No wonder they're so
it's
passionate about
weird.
everything.
It sounds like you're like a cringe writer who's trying to make their own language when you're translating it to English. It sounds so bad.
I like it.
Morning
Okay.
to light is so stupid.
No, I think people who speak English should say that. They should say morning the good, and they should respond morning the light. That's wonderful. What are you talking about?
Well, there's more. There's I forgot how we say like for evening and well, Tisbah al Khair. Do you know Tisbah al Khair?
No.
Tisbah al Khair means may you wake up to good news.
Oh.
Which is how we say good night.
Oh. Very forward thinking.
Yeah, and then people wake up to their relative dying.
Listen, I know you're trying to be all authentic, okay, but I've already got iDubbbz here to tell me what's what about Arab culture, okay?
Listen,
this is
bro,
a waste
all
of time. You coming in here with this.
Isn't he like an expert on the N-word? That's all I know about iDubbbz.
Yeah. Didn't Arabs
Is it
used
the
to
N-word or
own
the
slaves? Or yeah, same thing.
Not our Arabs. The Gulf Arabs did. Our Arabs were too poor. It's just like that white guy that said, you know how expensive a slave was back then?
Yeah.
Do you remember that clip? That Confederate flag guy?
I do, yeah.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Wait, do iDubbbz have an N-word to us or what?
No, iDubbbz is
He just said
notoriously
it.
known for saying the N-word. He
Yeah,
just
my
says
nigga,
it
that's
for
crazy.
like.
Yeah,
and
but he
he's,
also
like, white as
cried,
fuck.
so he did cry, so he's over it now. All good.
Why did he get like irrelevant? I thought he did something. I never found out why.
I mean, the way he comes off now is someone who probably built himself as a big 2016 pre that edgelord who did all the edgy, but then decided that he wasn't in that environment anymore, cried about it, but is now trying to reinvent himself in a way that's just not working. Or he's just doing, he did the N-word and all the edgelords at the time because it was really popular, but now it's really popular to be a toxic soy lefty. So he's doing that instead.
Okay, so I want to just address what David said. He's talking about the crembo dessert. He's saying never ask Sev what they call the crembo dessert in Arabic. Apparently, in some countries they call it ras al-abid, which means the head of a slave. But he neglected the fact that Jewish people call it kushi, which is basically the N-word in Hebrew.
Whoa.
Don't say that.
Well, listen, you shouldn't have dropped that now,
Kushi, that's
Seth.
crazy.
You're gonna have to apologize and cry now.
Oh, my bad. I'll go cry off stream.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Good luck.
Oh, bro.
Semitic, you're just gonna eat it up. It's not. Ethan is just proving his location on this tier list under Love Sabra because he doesn't understand Arab culture. There's a lot of Arabs who eat Sabra. There's a lot of people like me who eat Sabra. A lot of the times, it's all that's in the store. And
Every
I'm
time this guy
gonna-
says that, it's because he doesn't understand Arab culture. Oh God, it's killing me. He's killing. He doesn't. He has no idea what the argument is about Sabra. Okay.
buy it and I'm gonna eat it, but it is not the good. Like the average Arab American, they're gonna go in the store and the only option they have is Sabra, and
that's just not true, though. I'm sorry. I've been to the United States like 3 or 4 times now. Every shop, every big Walmart or Trader Joe's, whatever they all have a ton of hummus. They have the boar's head, whatever. They've got cedars. They've got Sabra. They've got there's so many. What the there's like some Jerusalem. Like there's so many different. Okay, only option. It's not. It's 60%. It's not the only option. My God, I went to these American supermarkets. I've never seen so much hummus in one place.
Sucks that that's the only option, right? Arab communities and distribution facilities are not widespread across the U.S. So what are they left with? They're left with a common, relatable hummus, which is Sabra. And what's so pathetic about this whole thing is after he was able to get these Arab creators banned off of Twitch for 30 days, he goes on to talk about how bad Sabra hummus is on his show.
I don't think anybody prefers Sabra over homemade like restaurant quality hummus. You know, it's what's there.
Like weirdly fluffy.
It is
Sabra.
fluffy.
Weird.
Yeah.
I would buy it sometimes and eat it. It's not the best.
The problem is with Sabra, in my opinion, it's only good for the first 2 days.
For some reason, like when you eat this Sabra, it just feels so much heavier. Imagine eating a whole vat of Sabra. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I've never liked hummus.
Oh, okay.
Well, you hate Jews then.
I don't.
And Arabs.
Yeah.
This is racist.
Yeah, it's almost like you can have a discussion about Sabra hummus being a bad hummus without it being at all related.
Yeah, really. It's almost if you can, but that's not the point, is it? The people on that tier list panel don't think it's just bad because it just happens to be because it's store brand. That's the reason it's bad. The reason it's not great is because it's store brand. Because it's full of preservatives, and that's what you need to make it last more than 2 days. Yeah, that's why it's bad. Yeah, but that's not really why, is it? That's not really why they think that. They think there's something extra about Sabra that makes it worse, which is that it's colonizer.
To a Jewish thing or an Israeli thing, he can have that discussion as much as he wants on his podcast because we all know his intentions are anti-Semitic.
This is what he did. He hit his heart hard.
The Zionism is leading to not accepting other cultures, embracing their own culture, and instead thinking that that is an attack on you. There's this incident on the podcast where they were reacting to Cutie Cinderella, and Ethan was laughing during it. So that ended up being a pretty important wake-up call for Ethan. He made an apology video directed at Cutie Cinderella, and it was graded by a professional psychologist, Dr. Kirk Honda of Psychology in Seattle, and Ethan got an A+ rating.
In terms of a public apology,
this is A+.
Ethan won't stop talking about his A+ rating.
You know, he rated my apology to Cutie Cinderella a perfect score, a perfect 10.
A perfect 10 out of 10?
Literally 10 out of 10. Go back. I can teach you how to make a good apology. I'm the best at
10
it.
out of 10.
I know what a perfect apology is, lady. You don't. Is my perfect apology in this PowerPoint? Dude, I got a perfect 10 out of 10. This one is actually best apology, so. Ethan Klein, you guys, oh my God.
I was trying really hard to think about an impactful moment during this video. Like, could I do something that would really wake Ethan
This is the out of context crowd, by the way. Yeah, I know, but that's the golden rule. You know, if it comes from the Destiny subreddit, it's bad, and if it comes from the Snark subreddit, it's good. That's. Did you not get the rules? This is Hasan's playground. Okay, we do what he says. That's how you do it.
And I don't know if this came from a good place or not, but I came up with the idea of getting Ethan's grade changed from an A to a B at least. So I went to visit psychology in Seattle. I'm not confident that Kirk will change his grade, but it's worth trying. And, you know, we might learn a thing or two.
Xander! Probably get pretty low marks. Unlike me, perfect score, 10. I said, hey, Lud, no wig drama. Why are you such a spineless coward of a person now that you've inserted yourself and your girlfriend into this conversation?
Okay, iDubbbz, I hear you. You're in the room with me right now. I hear you. I hear your request. I understand it. I can understand where it's coming from. And I guess have a policy that when there is a grade for an apology, I am just grading that discrete apology as I see it without taking any consideration of prior.
Bro, this is like getting a therapist to reassure you that the people who you hate are actually really bad people. Oh, fuck.
Future behavior. If you're wanting me to comment on the overall behavior or the recent behavior from the clips that you have shown me, I believe that Ethan is a good person, and that eventually he will feel sorrow and will feel sorry and will apologize, and I will be there to evaluate that apology when it happens, which I know it will.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Unfortunately, Kirk did not change his grade. But that's okay, because this is the internet. Anyone can have their own official apology rating system. So I'm going to rate Ethan's apology a B-. That's just based on my own feelings and my own rubric. When Psychology in Seattle was watching these video clips of Ethan...
I love how that bit in the middle, it was like 20 or 30 minutes in when he was trying to appeal to Ethan's better nature as a human and to be like, listen, we still... There's still a way out of this this crash out that you're experiencing, and now he's like trying to downgrade his apology. Oh God, it's so transparent, man. If I was Ethan, I would be so fuming.
He said that it looks like Ethan could just use a hug. Now, of course, it kind of pisses me off to hear that because I'm like, what are we doing? What are we saying? He needs a hug? No, he doesn't need a hug. He needs a good ass whooping is what he needs.
Whoa.
I think something that's very important to me in bringing back Content Cop is to be fair. I think that was something that was not illustrated in previous Content Cops.
I love that tactic because I love that. That's a brilliant tactic. Just to be the most uncharitable, most unfair, most bad faith, most out of context piece of shit you can possibly be, but just every now and then when you remember to remind people of how good faith you are. Always. That's a good one.
I think should have been, and probably wouldn't have left me with so much regret. Ethan deserves all of the criticism that he's getting. I think it's very valid. But I also think, at the end of the day, we should acknowledge that he's human because he is human. And he is in a situation that's making him extremely scared, paranoid, defensive, sensitive, and I'm sure other features and feelings. In the spirit of Kirk saying that it looks like Ethan could just use a hug, I have challenged some of his most powerful haters to put down the haterade and just say something nice and charitable about him because I think he deserves it.
I just wanted to say that I respect that you are genuinely yourself on the internet. I think a lot of other people respect you for it as well. I think that's a big reason why people were drawn to your content in the first place. I think that's a lot of the reason why your employees chose to work with you over anyone else.
Ethan, I think it's respectable that you even began this journey to leave behind the anti-SJW crowd and step into a more empathetic worldview. I know it's not easy.
Ethan Klein.
Bro, half of these people literally celebrate violence against their political opponents. What are we talking about? A more empathetic world? Bro, I'm just saying, if you find this little gesture, these aren't even compliments. They're like backhanded compliments. You used to be good. Like, this is, yeah, listen, I think you've really got it in you to come out of this and stop being a shit person. If you fall for this, you should literally just be in a home for the rest of your life. Like, what the like, how do you interact with the real world? No wonder they thought Ethan was a horrible employer, because these guys couldn't get a real job. They couldn't. Be impossible.
Line. I think that when you are being goofy, when you're being silly, when you are being lighthearted, and just having fun with
I
your
like it
friends.
when you're crashing the cymbals together like a little monkey. Yeah, I love it when you do that, Ethan. Just please stop having your incredibly ignorant takes on the Israel-Palestine conflict. By the way, here's our next guest, Bad Empanada, here to tell us about how all Zionists are Nazis and they deserve to be put in re-education camps, and that every Israeli civilian is actually a military target, and how maybe sixth time lucky the axis of resistance and the people surrounding the state of Israel will actually be able to pull off a military incursion that destroys the entire country. You know, maybe maybe just shut the up about all that stuff, Ethan. Maybe just stop saying that Hamas attacking Israel wasn't actually a really good idea. Come on, Ethan. Come on, stay in your lane. Now, let's talk about how the reason 800,000 Middle Eastern Jews ended up in Israel was really just because of the French or because of Zionist posters. So stay in your lane, Ethan. Now let's watch Hasan talk about how the Al Ali hospital was struck by a J-dam because of the sound of the whistle.
Friends. I think that is when you're at your best. So I'd love to see more of that. That'd be sick.
I will be reading my letter off because I don't want to sound robotic. H3 used to be the sports figure that I used to watch. I hope that one day gets back to what I remember. You were one of the inspirations for me to start creating content, so all this has stunk. I hope you really hear this, and I wish you the best.
I think Ethan Klein rocks a buzz cut pretty good, and I think he's got a good choice of facial hair. I think it's really cool what he did 8 years ago, fighting that frivolous lawsuit. That was pretty up, and fighting it, he changed YouTube for the better. And I thought that was cool because I thought it was like he was fighting for free speech.
That's a good one because Noah's getting sued for defamation. Well done, Noah. Well done. Well done. Why would you do this for someone who you think supports a genocide? Why would you do this? First of all, like the fakest, most sociopathic, we're actually your friends and your fans intervening to appeal to your better nature. Why would you do that for someone who you think is supporting a genocide? Bizarre.
I also see the dynamic of Ethan and Hila. It's really hard to be a couple online and see people attacking your partner, and it's like, okay, like if you come to their defense, if that doesn't always help them, right?
Wait, is this recent or is this him? Is this when he apologized for saying the N-word and cried? Is this him crying about? When's this from? Is the guy's in the same shirt? What is this? Jordan Peterson. What am I watching here? This is from the same session. The same.
It was cool because I thought it was like
it's for this video.
Free speech.
I also see the dynamic of Ethan and Hila.
Oh yeah, you're talking about Ethan and Hila.
It's really hard to be a couple online and see people attacking your partner, and it's like, okay, like if you come to their defense, if that doesn't always help them, right? Sometimes that makes it worse for them.
And I have been kind of slipping into a very unhealthy place where it's gotten worse and worse, and I get criticized more and more, and I get more defensive and more hold up, a feeling of almost infallibility that I could take anything on. It led me to make a lot of mistakes.
This is quite an old.
And then when I was criticized for those mistakes, then I would
call this evil if it wasn't just so retarded. It's so stupid, man. It's like emotional manipulation works in the real world because you're doing it in real time, right? Like it works. If someone's emotionally manipulating you, you're not like able to go back and replay something that they said, or you're not sitting there from just like the perspective of a viewer watching a film. Like everything's moving quite fast, and if you're being gaslit, like you might, it's really easy to gaslight someone in person, because if you have enough confidence with what you're saying and everything, then yeah, someone can you can convince someone that you didn't actually say the thing that you said half an hour ago or anything like that. But to do it in a video is just, or like the crying as well, because I think a lot of like abusive people will sometimes, like, the crying is sometimes something that abusive people will do because it gets them out of the situation. Like maybe someone's confronting them on something they just don't want to be confronted again about, so they'll just cry. And it's like, well, you can't scream at someone or try to hold someone to it when they're crying. You know, you just have to. And then you've made the conversation about them. But like him doing it in this video, in like a video format, is just very. It doesn't have the same effect. It's just kind of funny, like impotent,
extremely defensive and nasty, and not really processing them in a healthy way.
Wow. Well, hey, listen, Ethan. You know, you're a good guy, or you were a good guy like 10 years ago, and you know, we liked it when you were funny and when you were attacking people that we did like you attacking. But you're out of your depth, you know. You need to stay in your lane. Not talking about this conflict that you clearly know nothing about and actually have very reprehensible takes of. By the way, here's why all the rapes on October 7th bar 1 didn't happen. Fuck me. Stay in your lane, Ethan. Stay in your lane. Also, here's why Israel only attacked Lebanon, because they were just there. You know, there's no reason for it. You know, yeah. Stay in your lane, Ethan. Come on, you're so ignorant. Check your privilege. Also, here's how Hezbollah can still win. Wake up, Ethan. Wake up, Ethan. Also, here's why the Houthis actually have legal claim over an international shipping route in the Red Sea and are actually allowed to block ships and kidnap the crew. And that's what Palestinians need more of. Stay in your lane, Ethan. Stay in your lane. Here's why the Palestinians in Gaza who are protesting against Hamas are actually fake, and we shouldn't pay attention to them. Brilliant. Stay in your lane, Ethan. Here's why Jelani is an Israeli collaborator. I hate these people so much, man. Disgusting. Oh well, what a brain dead video. That might be the worst. That might be the worst video I've seen for like drama slop or anything like that since DJ Mule. That might be the worst video since the DJ Mule video about Xanderhal. Did we ever find the Second Thought leftovers? Yeah, the clip where Hasan is trying to answer for Second Thought. Yeah. Nice flat. Thanks, Wicked Supreme. Yeah. Yeah. Look at it. Look at this pad. Let me find it. I'll be able to find it because I reacted to it. It is where he spoke about settler babies, for sure. I just need to search. You're not doing a house tour. Shut up. Shut up. But I think Baby Settlers was part of the video. It was. Nope, not that one. It wasn't the one where... It was when they were in the same studio. Did I actually upload this one, though? Maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't. Oh, no. Was it leftovers? It's in the Discord. Thank you. Ethan only reacted to half of this video. Bro, how did he not stop after the first 5 minutes? Where in the Discord is it? Okay, here it is. Thank you. Perfect timestamp.
This will be easier for you. He basically says the same thing here. So here he is doing a podcast.
I've been on, I think is this Deprogram? I've been on the podcast.
I don't know what it's called, but this is just a clip from, yes.
Yeah.
So here's his take on this, and let's listen.
Incentivize all thank you very much. He says, did the Palestinians actually take civilian hostage, or is that fake news? I don't care.
Yeah, the occupiers
I don't,
are not civilian.
First of all, just straight off the bat.
The person that's talking is Hakim. He is a doctor in Iraq, and
Iraq?
Of course, just to put this into a decent frame of reference for those who are unfamiliar, I think he will probably
he's allowed to be retarded because of the Iraq War. Yes, thank you.
Have a much more ruthless position on the matter, considering how he feels about American forces and what they've done to his
This
home,
I'm pretty
his
sure is
family.
all second thought.
No, the one who said...
No, I know. But
Yeah.
Here.
Incentivize all thank you very much. He says, did the Palestinians actually take civilian hostage, or is that fake news?
So wait, who's talking there?
That's Hakim.
Okay, so second thought's the one who says, I don't care, and laughs.
I can't wait. Say it.
I don't care.
This
No,
guy.
that's Hakim.
I don't.
The guy with the accent.
Yeah, that's Hakim. Second thought is an American.
So second thought is the guy who's asking the question.
No, Hakim is the one who read it. He's reading it from chat. It's a
Thank you
super
very much.
chat.
Did the Palestinians actually take civilian hostage, or is that fake news? I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, he agrees with him. So let's just
Yeah,
listen
go
to the
on.
clip.
The occupiers
I don't-
are
I do
not
not.
civilians. That is what it comes
Yeah.
down to. Like if imagine
French-
like if
Sorry, go on.
Germany, let's say Germany to be non
That's him, right?
I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
controversial.
And not that it matters.
invaded the United States, and they said, you know what, Cincinnati, Ohio is our ancestral home, and everyone knows that's blatantly false. But they take your home,
Blatantly
they
false.
murder your grandma, they bulldoze like your neighbor's house. Are those people civilians there? No, they're occupiers, and those are criminals. There are no civilians there. And
So-
So according to second thought,
Mm-hmm.
he says that every Israeli is an occupier and there are no citizens there in response to
Ethan, you're out of your depth. Don't ask questions. He's just out of his depth. No, let him pop off about how half of the world's Jews are actually military targets. Let's go.
There are
decapitating
there are
babies,
two
which I
different
can now say.
there are two different schools of thought here. So the first is
And the take in the
19
comments is based.
yeah, of course. The 1948ers believe that there's two different schools of thought within.
See,
I
look
would
at this
say-
disgusting worm, like literally trying to justify this. He's trying to say like it's just a respectable school of thought that we can just disagree with. No, you like you're talking about the civilians of an entire country. There's no other country on earth you would say this is acceptable that there are no civilians there. You wouldn't even say about Russia, despite like what they believe in what they do. School of thought. Off. Even Hamas doesn't say this. Hamas just says Israel killed the civilians, by the way. Ethan should have just hammered on this one like endlessly. Like there's no, it should be moments like this where it's just very clear. Okay, one side is insane and the other side is like not. Might be room for improvement, might be some takes here and there that can be set straight. But like one side is insane because the problem isn't here that Hasan doesn't agree with what Second Thought's saying here. But he presents it as an acceptable disagreement, which is, it's like being friendly with and promoting and shouting out like a Holocaust denier and just be like, oh, I don't really agree with him on that stuff though, like, no, you would never accept that.
Zionism. Those who believe that all matter of settlements that were propped up even in the inception of the Israeli nation state are unjustifiable. And that they are settlers, so they extend beyond your perspective that you agree with, which is because West Bank is a settler occupation.
I think it's an extremely evil thing to say, what he said.
Let me ask you this.
No. What, do you think what he said is evil?
I think it is, one, unproductive, and two, it does not meet the realities on the ground, and it's not a viable solution.
Look at him just like stumbling his way through the fact that his friend is a terrorist who supports killing 6 or 7 million Jews. Like it would be fine because they're not civilians; they're criminals. Oh, but it's unproductive. You know what? It's impractical. Because if they try it, they would probably lose. Like,
just to be clear, calling babies,
no, of course not,
settlers.
Although I disagree with Hasan completely here, there are Zionists who have just as extreme views. No, yeah, of course. But the difference is that even in this community or any community, if there's ever a Zionist, so there's no such thing as a Palestinian civilian, those people get squashed, right? Like that's not an acceptable school of thought. It's just mental, okay? And it's not because it's unproductive. It's because it's evil. It's a horrible thing to say. It's disgusting to say there's no such thing as a Palestinian civilian. But that's the difference, is that if I was ever confronted by someone that I'm mutual with or something like that, or maybe someone that I interact with or create content with, and they were like, oh yeah, this person that you are shouting out, by the way, and promote on your channel says this, I wouldn't be like, yeah, I just, I don't think that's productive. I wouldn't say that. You would just say, yeah, that's insane. And also, why am I friends with this person? Like, why am I shouting out this person's content, acting like they're a reasonable commentator on anything? It should be an instant write-off. And the fact that it's not just tells you everything you need to know about Hasan and this entire community. But they have somehow managed to convince the entire internet that it's the other people who are okay with civilians dying, which is just insane. Wild. RIP. What can you do, though?
Of course,
And they're not even living.
They're not.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
they're
Okay.
babies.
So I just want to
Listen,
say,
listen.
I just
I
want
have a
to
question for
say
you. I have a
that this
question for you.
guy's a evil piece of shit for saying that.
Can I ask you a question?
Can I finish? Let me finish the
Okay,
video.
we'll finish this, but I do have a question for you because I think you're going to agree with something I'm about to say.
Yes. Let's just finish it and then we'll talk.
Invaded the United States, and they said, you know what, Cincinnati, Ohio is our ancestral home, and everyone knows that's blatantly false. But they take your home, they murder your grandma, they bulldoze like your neighbor's house. Are those people civilians there? No, they're occupiers, and those are criminals. There are no civilians there in the illegal military occupation.
Yeah. So that's number one.
I mean, that's so callous. It's kind of hard to even believe just how flippant he can be about calling baby.
It's also the fact that he said that there's no civilians there. It's an illegal military occupation. What do you mean illegal? Like how? Second thought doesn't know anything either. Like you would call Israel an illegal military occupation. No, legally it's a country with the right to exist and defend itself. But okay. Yeah, well, rip. You didn't know he was debating the ancestry claims. Yeah, these people are insane. They're very dumb. They're very cruel, bad people. What can you do? God Squad, thanks for the $5. iDubbbz old content cops actually had good critiques and substance. This is a content cop in name only. I haven't watched any other ones. Counter Scarp, thanks for the 25 PLN. Little housewarming gift from Poland to you. Bobberbox, it's a reference. What? Thanks. Jewish Ryan Gosling, thanks for the tier 1 sub. Awu Station, thanks for the €5. Just a heads up, your stream has been picked up by our OSINT community. You're having the most level-headed responses to this nonsense. Your OSINT community. What? Okay. Thanks for the tier 4 sub, Vazaraka. Thanks for the tier 1 sub, Gavin Eidman. Hello, Mr. Box. Neshua A, thanks for the tier 1 sub. Charles Oberon, thanks for the 50 shekels. My Moroccan grandma moved to Israel with her younger brother and mum, 63 or 64, but her other siblings and her dad moved to France. Okay. Wow. Barabbas Dantiok, thanks for the $2. What if it comes from the Vosh subreddit? Well, then it's nonsense, isn't it? Is that what we say now? Dwayne, thanks for the $5. Notice he couldn't get Hasan to say anything nice about Ethan. Oh yeah, was Hasan not in the incredibly convincing montage of people saying that Ethan used to be good when he agreed with us? Aren't you friendly with Vegan Gains, though? Yeah, I don't think Vegan Gains advocates for murdering an entire nation of civilians. So, sorry. I'm also not really an ideological ally of vegan. And Emboman will say I mean because he likes to stretch everything to mean something else. I know how it is. Joy. And again, when Vegan Gains comes with stuff that I disagree with, I do it very openly. I don't like recommend people to go to Vegan Gains for political content, especially in the Middle East. I don't do that. Oh, okay. Who would run the vegan prisons? I don't know. Isn't it okay to just have friends with someone you radically disagree with? Yeah, of course it is. But there comes to a point when you're not really, when I just don't know if it's like a radical disagreement is really the best way to put it. Like when someone literally just wants millions of people to get murdered and would be okay with it. That's kind of like, to me, that I don't know if that's like just a radical disagreement. That's more like okay, you should probably be like sectioned or something. I don't know. Duh. No friends in the industry. Well, that's one way to do it. Just having no mates in the industry. I'm okay with that because you never know. You never know when someone's going to be, what is it, a terrorist? Or getting a sex scandal. A sex scandalier. You never know if they're going to be one of those things, so it's best just not to be friends with anyone. Woo-ho-ho-ho.